Chapter 1367. Qin Feng knew what Ling Yuna was thinking. When the elders of Spirit Beast sect came, this woman would definitely complain. At that time, not to mention going to Spirit Beast sect, she might even kill him in the yamen. However, he pretended to be stupid and said, "Is what you said true? Is your sect's grand elder easy to talk to? What if he doesn't take me back?" Seeing that Qin Feng had taken the bait, Ling Yuna hurriedly said, "Don't worry, Magistrate Qiao. When the time comes, I'll do my best to recommend you. Now that you've taken my body, of course I'll wholeheartedly follow you." Ling Yuna began to pretend to be charming again. Qin Feng sneered in his heart. "Okay, then I'll believe you this once. If the elders really don't agree, I'll just give them the powder equipment I've kept for many years. That way, they'll take me back, right?" Qin Feng said it casually, but Ling Yuna was stunned. This brat really hid a few rare powder equipment, but if he really told the elders about these equipment, how would Ling Yuna have the chance to get them? They would all be taken away by the elders. "Magistrate Qiao, you mustn't tell the elders about the equipment and pills," Ling Yuna urged anxiously. Qin Feng obviously understood this woman's thoughts, but he pretended to be confused and said, "Ah? Why not? Could it be that you don't want me to join Spirit Beast sect? You just said you want to follow me wholeheartedly. You're a bitch." Qin Feng cursed and cursed. Ling Yuna almost exploded with anger, but she still smiled and said, "Don't be angry, Lord Qiao. I'm already your woman, how can I not help you? I'm doing this to save you. If you tell the elders of Spirit Beast sect about the equipment and pills, they will definitely kill you." "Oh? Those elders are so vicious?" Qin Feng looked nervous. "Lord Qiao, it's because I've become your woman. Otherwise, why would I say such things to others? Those elders are powerful and vicious. Try not to come into contact with them. When the time comes, I'll help you pave the way." Qin Feng laughed coldly in his heart. This woman, Ling Yuna, really knew how to act. Her words sounded even better than her singing. Qin Feng didn't expose him. He said with some fear, "I see. Thank goodness you reminded me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to keep my life. Then I'll listen to you. I won't tell anyone about the spiritual weapon and spiritual pill. However, the disciples of the White Warehouse sect and the Red Sun sect also know about the spiritual weapon. What should I do?" Ling Yuna was not worried that Xia Long and Sun Dao would leak the news, because if that happened, the two of them would not be able to get a single spiritual artifact. At that time, it would be the elders of the three sects fighting over the powder equipment and spiritual pills. After talking about the spiritual weapons, Qin Feng asked about another important matter. "Ling Yuna, tell me in detail about the battle between the two cities. How many experts will the three sacred gates of distant Ice City send?" Ling Yuna didn't think too much and said, "This time, our Spirit Beast sect master is determined to take Meteor City's territory. 3 days later they will send a great elder at the 7th stage of True Qi, 3 elders at the 6th stage of True Qi, and many disciples. The forces that the Red Sun sect and the White Warehouse sect will send are about the same as the Spirit Beast sect." Qin Feng was shocked. This time, they were going to gather 3 powerful experts at the 7th stage of True Qi, 6 at the 6th stage of True Qi, and countless disciples at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th stage. If such a powerful force was brought to the secular world of China and the outer world of martial arts, just standing there would scare the martial artists of the outside world to death. Currently, the strongest expert Qin Feng met was only at the 6th stage of True Qi. Now that he was injured, he was more or less worried. 20%. "Are there any rules when the battle starts?" Qin Feng continued to ask. Ling Yuna looked at Qin Feng strangely. She increasingly felt that this person wasn't from this side. Why didn't he know any common sense? However, her life was still in Qin Feng's hands, so she didn't dare to ask any more questions. She said, "There are 2 ways to fight a war between 2 cities. One is to start an all-out war and fight to the death until the entire army is wiped out. The other is for both cities to send out some experts and let these experts fight. The side that wins the city. After talking with Ling Yuna for a long time, Qin Feng understood more about the matters of the divine continent. He preferred the first way. These sacred gates weren't good people. It was best to fight to the death. After asking what he needed to ask, Qin Feng didn't stay for long. Just as he was about to leave, he was suddenly hugged by Ling Yuna from behind. Ling Yuna's heartbeat sped up. Ever since she was forcefully pushed by the spirit crane in the outside world, she would sometimes want that kind of thing. Tonight, Qin Feng's power subdued her. She didn't resist and instead enjoyed it. In the dead of night, Ling Yuna thought about it again. She was surprised to find herself immersed in Qin Feng's power. "Woman, what are you doing?" Qin Feng shook off Ling Yuna's arm and stared at her coldly. "Lord Xiao, don't leave tonight. Let this little girl serve you well." Ling Yuna's almond-shaped eyes were filled with lust. Qin Feng was shocked. He knew that Ling Yuna didn't need to dig any traps or tricks. Did this woman really want it? This made Qin Feng depressed. He couldn't understand Ling Yuna's thoughts. "I'm tired tonight. Let's talk about it next time." Qin Feng hurriedly ran out of Ling Yuna's room. Qin Feng came to punish this woman in the battle not long ago. He didn't expect that he wouldn't humiliate her. This woman was addicted to it. She really didn't know how to behave. When Qin Feng returned to his room, he found that Hua Xiaozhen still hadn't fallen asleep. She hurriedly stood up from the bed and wiped the tears from her eyes. It was obvious that she had cried for a long time. "Xiaozhen, what's wrong?" Qin Feng came up and asked with concern. Hua Xiaozhen shook her head and didn't say anything. Qin Feng pulled her to the bed and sat her down. After asking a few times, this girl finally spoke. Young Master Qiao, why you like that woman?" Hua Xiaozhen asked carefully. Her heart was about to jump out of her throat. If young Master Qiao really liked that woman, then wouldn't she be abandoned? "How could I like Ling Yuna? That woman is vicious. I'm just acting with her. Don't worry about this." Qin Feng rubbed Hua Xiaozhen's head. Hua Xiaozhen's anxious heart finally calmed down. She had long felt that Ling Yuna didn't have good intentions. She wanted to warn young Master Qiao, but she found that young Master Qiao was an understanding person. He was just pretending to be confused. Young Master Qiao, please don't blame me. This lowly servant will go fill the bathwater." Hua Xiaozhen had been worried all night. Only now did she realize that she didn't even prepare the bathwater. She hurriedly ran to get busy. Soon, Qin Feng was lying in the warm wooden tub. Hua Xiaozhen carefully rubbed and massaged him. Tonight, Hua Xiaozhen was a bit strange. Her eyes occasionally glanced at Qin Feng's legs. Hua Xiaozhen knew that Qin Feng didn't like Ling Yuna. But why did he push that woman down? When she thought about this, Hua Xiaozhen's eyes brightened. Young Master Qiao was a hot-blooded man. Naturally, he needed to solve some physiological problems. "Young Master Qiao, this lowly servant is bold. Please don't blame me, young Master Qiao," Hua Xiaozhen said out of the blue. Qin Feng was stunned. Suddenly, he saw this woman lower her head and move closer to his thigh. Chapter 1368. The war between the two cities was imminent, and distant Ice City was engulfed in a storm. Under the request of the three sacred gates, the officials of the various government offices began to recruit soldiers and prepare to go to war. The young men in the city were all captured and looked as if they were waiting for death. Hua Xiaozhen was frightened by this chaotic situation and was on tenterhooks every day. Qin Feng looked at the originally happy and stable families being torn apart, and felt somewhat upset. However, he could not even protect himself and had no power to manage these miscellaneous matters. 3 days after Ling Yuna and the others arrived, the elders of the three sacred gates of distant Ice City arrived with their teams. This west town was the closest town to the sunset-gazing mountain at the border of Meteor City, so all the disciples of the sacred gate were gathered here. As for the able-bodied men that were captured from other towns, they would eventually gather here and go to war. The arrival of Xia Long and the others made the people of the West Town government restless. Now that the elders of the three sacred gates had personally led their teams here, the people of the government office were even more frightened. Early in the morning, there were already 2 long queues outside the government office. Ling Yuner and the other disciples of the government office all came out to welcome them. There were close to 100 people, all of them riding on tall horses. The 3 great elders of the 3 sects were walking at the very front, each wearing a different sect's uniform. Behind them were their own sect's disciples. Just the majestic procession alone was enough to make people feel fearful. Disciple Ling Yuner greets Great Elder Ling Chong and Elder Ling Wei. Disciple Sun Dao greets Great Elder Sun He and Elder Sun Wen. Disciple Xia Long greets Great Elder Xia Juetian. Seeing the people coming, Ling Yuner and the others immediately went to welcome them and greeted the elders respectfully. The Spirit Bee sect and the Red Sun sect each sent a great elder and an elder. On the other hand, White Seng only sent Great Elder Xie Juetian. The 3 sects each brought over 30 disciples. Qin Feng looked around and saw that they were all experts at the 3rd stage of True Qi and above. There were 100 True Qi realm experts gathered outside the government office. There were even 3 experts at the 7th stage of True Qi and quite a few at the 6th stage of True Qi. As for those at the 4th and 5th stage of True Qi, they were as many as dogs. Such a magnificent formation shocked Qin Feng. This was even more powerful than the group of Despair Sect's disciples who had come out of closed-door training when he was in Hero City. Qin Feng was worried that even if he used the Black Dragon tank, would he be able to defeat this group of people? Where's the manager here? Are you tired of living? While Qin Feng was in a daze, the great elders of the 3 sects were unhappy. Each of their faces was colder than the last. The great elder of the Spirit Bee sect, Ling Chong, had the highest position and was already shouting. Everyone in the yamen was so scared that they almost knelt down. Wei Changming kept signaling Qin Feng with his eyes. Wang Long, Li Hu, and the others couldn't wait to shake Qin Feng's arm to wake him up. This was the great elder of the Holy Gate. If they were angered, they could destroy the entire yamen with a snap of their fingers. Young Master Qiao. Hua Xiaojun called out softly. She was also frightened. Without waiting for Qin Feng to step forward, Ling Yuner had already started to speak up for her. Elder Ling Chong, Zhang Yamochi, this yamen is filled with low-level warriors. Clearly, they were shocked by Elder Ling Chang's might. Great Elder Sun He, it must have been hard on you. Disciple will help you to hold the horse. Thank you, Great Elder Tian Qi. Sun Dao and Xia Long were actually speaking up for Qin Feng. The 3 of them had the same thought. They had been eyeing the pink spiritual weapon on Qin Feng for the past few days. They didn't want the elders to kill Qin Feng with a single palm strike. Just as Ling Yuner had guessed, Sun Dao and Xia Long didn't plan to tell the elders about the spiritual weapon. If that was the case, how would they get a share? Qin Feng walked up with large strides. His expression didn't change much as he faced the 3 great elders. I am Qiao Feng, the county magistrate of the West Town Yamen. I knew that the 3 great elders would be coming today, so I led everyone to wait for a long time. Qin Feng's attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. Ling Chong and the other 2 were slightly stunned. As the great elders of the Holy Gate, their status was extremely honorable. Even the city lord of the distant Ice City had to humble himself and curry favor with the 3 of them. Who would have thought that a mere county magistrate would have such an attitude? Humph! A mere county magistrate dares to act big in front of me? I think you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Ling Chan's face turned cold. Waves of true qi burst out from his body, and the bailiffs couldn't breathe. Wei Changming even knelt on the ground. Ling Yuner jumped in fright. She cursed Qin Feng's arrogance inwardly. It was fine if he acted big in front of her, but he actually dared to act big in front of the Holy Gate's great elders. Great Elder Ling Chong, you have a noble status. Why are you angry at an ant-like county magistrate? His standards are too low, and he doesn't know the noble status that Great Elder represents. Ling Chong looked at Ling Yuner strangely after she said all the good things she wanted to say. He felt that something was wrong. Ling Yuner, could it be that you have some relationship with that kid? Why are you always speaking up for him? When Ling Yuner saw that Grand Elder Ling Chong had noticed something fishy, she was scared to death. She had concealed the matter of the spiritual artifact from Grand Elder Ling Chong. If this matter was exposed, Ling Yuner could imagine her tragic death. Great Elder Ling Chong has misunderstood. How could I have any relationship with that ant-like person? It's just that this west town is the closest to the sunset-gazing mountain. That Chiao guy is very familiar with the terrain around here. We still need him to help us fight. Ling Yuner made up an excuse. Ling Chong glared at Qin Feng coldly and ignored her. It was just as Ling Yuner said. The Holy Gate's great elder's status was extremely noble. Ling Chong even felt that if he spoke to Qin Feng, his status would drop a little. Have all the able-bodied men in Distant Eye City been captured? Ling Chong had already gotten down to business. Ling Yuner hurriedly replied, Don't worry, Great Elder Ling Chong. I've already passed on this matter 3 days ago. Currently, all 23 towns in Distant Eye City have gathered a large number of troops, and they'll gather here by tomorrow morning at the latest. Ling Chong nodded and continued, All right, then we will set off after tomorrow morning. This time, the sect master intends to send out experts to fight to prevent the two cities from fighting to the death. Ling Chong stated his intention in front of everyone, but his words were mainly for Sun He and Xie Jiutian to hear. Among the 3 holy gates of Distant Eye City, the Spirit Beast sect was the strongest. The words of the Spirit Beast sect master were equivalent to the city's imperial edict. Sun He and Xie Jiutian were a little displeased, but they agreed with the Spirit Beast sect's intentions. No one wanted to fight to the death. The Holy Gate's great elder had already been brought to the Yamen and arranged to stay in a high-class guest room. As for the Holy Gate's disciples, there were a few of them staying in one room. After all, there were more than 100 people in one go, and the Yamen was running out of rooms. Even Wei Changming, Wang Long, Li Hu, and the others had to give up their rooms and sleep in the courtyard. Qin Feng and Hua Xiaozhen returned to their room. The moment they entered, Hua Xiaozhen said worriedly, Young Master Qiao, let's leave quickly. Qin Feng understood Hua Xiaozhen's worries. Now that so many Holy Gate's disciples had arrived, even Qin Feng was a little worried. They were going to the Sunset Visualization Mountain to investigate the situation tomorrow. Qin Feng didn't dare to bring Hua Xiaozhen along, afraid that something might happen. Xiaozhen, ride the flaming dragon horse back to Hua family village tomorrow morning. Qin Feng had already started to make arrangements for Hua Xiaozhen's safety. The flaming dragon horse was a high-grade spiritual horse. He believed that Hua Xiaozhen wouldn't be easily caught by others. Buhu, young Master Qiao, don't abandon this lowly servant. If this lowly servant has done anything wrong, I will definitely correct it. Hua Xiaozhen suddenly knelt in front of Qin Feng and cried her heart out. Qin Feng felt helpless. He carried her to the bed and helped her wipe her tears. He said seriously, Xiaozhen, it's not that I don't want you anymore. You should know that the two cities are at war now. If you continue to follow me, there will be danger. Hua Xiaozhen's crying gradually stopped, and she shook her head with a resolute expression. Young Master Qiao, Xiaozhen is not afraid of death. If it wasn't for young Master Qiao killing the bandits in the bamboo forest that day, Xiaozhen would have already committed suicide. This lowly servant's life is already young Master Qiao's. I want to accompany young Master Qiao in life and death. Qin Feng could tell that Hua Xiaozhen was speaking from the bottom of her heart. Compared to death, this silly girl was actually more afraid of being abandoned by him. The more sincere Hua Xiaozhen was, the more Qin Feng couldn't let her be hurt. He reached out and hugged her in his arms. He said, Leave tomorrow morning. I promise you that I will come back to find you. If you follow me, you will only drag me down. Hua Xiaozhen wasn't stupid at all. She understood Qin Feng's meaning, but she was still very reluctant. How could she watch young Master Qiao go through fire and water? Seeing that Qin Feng's plan was set, no matter how reluctant Hua Xiaozhen was, she hid it in her heart. That night, Qin Feng hugged Hua Xiaozhen to sleep, but Hua Xiaozhen couldn't sleep at all. She looked forward to young Master Qiao suddenly pouncing on her in the middle of the night, and ravaging her as fiercely as he ravaged Ling Yuner that night. Qin Feng woke up just as the sky brightened. He gave Hua Xiaozhen a few more warnings and had her leave on the flaming dragon horse. Hua Xiaozhen started crying the moment she left the yamen. She cried all the way to Hua family village until her tears dried up. There were many times when she wanted to turn around and return to Qin Feng's side, but in the end she suppressed this strong urge. The yamen was surrounded by people early in the morning. Other than the Sacred Gate disciples who rushed over yesterday, there was another black mass of people. These were all able-bodied men captured from various villages in distant Ice City. Almost all of them had stepped into the realm of true Qi. As for those ordinary villagers who had no strength, they were useless even if they were captured. Even so, close to 10,000 people were captured. At this moment, the streets outside the yamen were completely blocked, and one couldn't see the end of it. Ling Chong stood at the front of the crowd. The great elders of the Red Sun sect and the White Sun sect were half a step behind him. The difference in their status could be seen from this. Ling Yuner, Sun Dao, Xia Long, and the others stood behind the little elder. As for Qin Feng and the people from the yamen, they could only stand at the back. Chapter 1369. Ling Chong maintained the posture of an expert. After a long silence, he slowly opened his mouth. Citizens of Distant Ice City, now that 20% of the cities are at war, Distant Ice City is in dire straits. Usually, the Spirit Beast sect protects everyone's peace and harmony. Now we need everyone to work together to resist. Once we take down Meteor City, everyone will have a better life. Ling Chong spoke for a long time to trick these able-bodied men into fighting the war. The crowd shook their heads and sighed. They had all sorts of resentment in their hearts, but they didn't dare to say anything. As the poor people of China, they were usually bullied by the yamen and had to fear the might of the Sacred Gate. They lived the same poor and difficult lives as the peasants of Hua village. Not only did they have to worry about survival every day, but they were also constantly worried about being bullied. How was this a life of equality? Since when did the Sacred Gate truly protect these poor people? The so-called peace and harmony were all bullshit. The only people who benefited from this city war were the Sacred Gate. What did it have to do with the poor people? Ling Chong could see the dissatisfaction in these people's hearts, but he pretended not to see it. In the end, he even added, "We will set off after the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. When the two cities start fighting, I hope everyone will do their best. If I find any deserters, I will personally kill them." The crowd sighed even louder, but no one stood up to resist. These people were as stubborn as Hua Xiaozhen. They had been bullied since they were young, and they even felt that this was something they should do. Qin Feng also shook his head and sighed. He felt a trace of helplessness towards these people's foolish thoughts. Not long after, it was time to set off. Under Ling Chang's command, the majestic troops set off towards Sunset Gazing Mountain. Apart from this troop, there was no one else in West Town. The poor people had long since hidden in their homes. In this chaotic time of war, no one dared to run around on the streets. This West Town made Qin Feng feel unfamiliar. He remembered the first time he rode a horse to West Town with Hua Xiaozhen. It was extraordinarily lively. The poor people on the streets were kind-hearted, and the children playing on the streets made Qin Feng feel happy. The willow trees swayed in the breeze, and the kites danced in the dark blue sky. Those scenes could no longer be seen. There was only the thunderous footsteps of the troops, and the flying dust behind them. Ding! The hedonist sovereign system has issued a chain quest, City War Quest. Announcing City War main mission. Host Qin Feng, take down Meteor City and Distant Ice City. Time limit 3 months. If the mission is completed, the system will reward 100,000 hedonist points and a Black Dragon combat aircraft. If the mission is failed, 200,000 hedonist points will be deducted, and your identity will be exposed, and you will be hunted by all holy gates. Announcing City War Side Mission 1. Muddy the battlefield and cause the sacred gates of Distant Ice City and Meteor City to suffer heavy losses. The time limit for the mission is 3 months. If the mission is successfully completed, the system will reward 50,000 hedonist points and 1 true chi pill. If the mission is failed, 100,000 hedonist points will be deducted. Announcing the second side mission, City Battle, protect the poor citizens, and change their rigid mindset. Time limit 3 months. The system will reward 50,000 hedonist points if the mission is successfully completed. If the mission is failed, 100,000 hedonist points will be deducted. Halfway there, a system notification sounded in Qin Feng's mind. A new quest had been issued. He began to study the City War Chain mission. Unknowingly, the team had already arrived at the foot of the cloud-gazing mountain. The team in front stopped, and Qin Feng returned to reality from his thoughts. In front of him was an endless stretch of tall mountains. On the opposite side of the mountain was Meteor City. There were many soldiers guarding the foot of the mountain, and they immediately rushed over when they saw them. Greetings, Senior Holy Gate. The soldiers guarding the border were all from the Yamen. Their strength was only at stage 1 or stage 2 of true Qi. Although they said that they were guarding the border, it was only for show. Under normal circumstances, the people of the 2 cities would not cross the border. When the war really broke out, it was still the Holy Gate's disciples who came out from their seclusion. Ling Chong did not put the dozens of soldiers in his eyes at all. He didn't even look at them. He said to Sun He and Xie Tian, "The 2 of you, go to the other side and check out the situation." Ling Chong's tone sounded like he was ordering a little brother. Sun He and Xie Tian were fuming with anger. As the great elders of the 2 sects, they were usually very noble in the sect. They had always been the ones ordering others. When had they ever been ordered? Humph. Ling Chong, don't push your luck. After all, we are the great elders of the sect. Our positions are equal. Why should I go and check out the situation? Why don't you go? Sun He couldn't help but grumble. Xie Tian naturally stood on his side. He added, "I agree with Sun He. If we are going, we should all go together. How can we, the Red Sun sect, and White Song scout the way? Is the Spirit Beast sect trying to reap the benefits of the third party?" Seeing that his thoughts were seen through, Ling Chong's expression turned a little ugly. However, he couldn't continue to be forceful. Even if the Spirit Beast sect was more powerful, it was taboo to have internal conflicts when the 2 cities were at war. What a joke. As the great elder of the Spirit Beast sect, I still have to scout the way? What are you guys thinking? Ling Chong roared angrily. Sun He and Xie Tian almost fainted from anger. You are the great elder, but we are the great elders? The 2 of them didn't say anything else. They just sat on their horses and didn't do anything. Ling Chong held back his anger. After a moment of stalemate, he shouted to Ling Yuner behind him. Bring some disciples to scout the situation. See how many experts Meteor City sent this time. Ling Yuner's heart sank. She wasn't willing to do this kind of hard work. Even though they had many experts on their side, Meteor City also had the 3 sacred gates. Now that the 2 cities were at war, they would definitely send many experts over. What are you still standing there for? Ling Chong roared angrily. Ling Yuner was so scared that she trembled. Even though she was very unwilling, she didn't dare to delay. However, her eyes turned and before she left, she suddenly said, "Magistrate Chiao, come with me." Qin Feng cursed at this woman's treachery in his heart. However, he quickly calmed down. On the way here, he just received a new mission from the system. If he wanted to complete this mission, he really had to go into Meteor City himself. At the very least, he had to meet the representatives there. Ling Yuner called for 4 more disciples. Just as she was about to leave, she heard Ling Chong say, "Why aren't your 2 sects sending disciples? Are you using our Spirit Beast sect's people as cannon fodder?" Ling Chong glared at the 2 great elders, Sun He and Xie Tian. The 2 of them couldn't pretend anymore. They sent out Sun Dao and Xia Long to lead the team. There were 15 to 16 people in the group. The weakest was at the 3rd level of True Qi, and the strongest was Xia Long, who was at the 5th level of True Qi. Empty sunset visualization was tall and steep. Normal people couldn't climb it. However, Ling Yuner and the others were experts of the absolute sections. Leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls was a common occurrence for them. Qin Feng mixed in the group and became the only person without any strength. Seeing that the other disciples had already started to climb the mountain, Qin Feng smiled at Ling Yuner and said, "Beauty Yuner, carry me up the mountain." Ling Yuner's expression turned cold. If it wasn't for the spirit equipment and spirit pills, she would have killed Qin Feng a few hundred times over. "You're a man, and you want me to carry you? Can't you climb it yourself?" Qin Feng didn't care about Ling Yuner's expression. His smile became even wider. "You know I'm just a normal person. How could I climb such a steep mountain? Moreover, I didn't need to come. Didn't you drag me here? Do you want to follow me wholeheartedly or not? Your current attitude makes me very suspicious. Why don't I go find your great elder and give him some spirit equipment and spirit pills? Maybe he'll curry favor with him." Qin Feng's words angered Ling Yuner to the point of unsheathing her sword. However, in an instant, the woman's face immediately became coquettish. She took the initiative to bend her waist and half-squat in front of Qin Feng. "Lord Xiao, I'll carry you up. I called you here because I wanted to protect you. You mustn't tell Great Elder about the spirit equipment and spirit pills. Otherwise, your life will be in danger." Ling Yuner's perky buttocks were raised high. Her back view was enchanting, and her posture was sexy. Qin Feng almost kissed her. He lay on the woman's body. A soft fragrance assaulted his nose. He said, "Be careful when you climb the mountain. Don't touch me." Ling Yuner was so angry that her eyes rolled back. She didn't talk nonsense with Qin Feng. She clenched her teeth and prepared to climb the mountain. However, she suddenly discovered that the true qi in her body was suppressed by the poison. She was also a normal person. "Lord Xiao, can you give me the antidote?" Ling Yuner's eyes suddenly wandered. Qin Feng gave her a pill without thinking. Ling Yuner's expression changed greatly. Since when did this surnamed Xiao become so easy to talk to? Ling Yuner didn't think too much. She hurriedly swallowed the pill. Immediately, the true qi in her body recovered and began to surge violently. Swish! Ling Yuner turned into a black shadow. It seemed that in a few breaths she had already reached halfway up the mountain. She jumped on the cliff like a light swallow. It was as if Qin Feng, who was on her back, didn't exist. Ling Yuner laughed excitedly in her heart. She finally recovered her true qi. These days she was miserably plagued by Qin Feng. She wanted to take Qin Feng to a place where there was no one, force him to take out the spirit equipment and spirit pills, and then silence him. "Ling Yuner, why are you running so fast?" Sun Dao and Xia Long, who were climbing the mountain, suddenly stared blankly. Ling Yuner seemed to have erupted with all her strength to climb the mountain. In the blink of an eye, she had left everyone far behind. Ling Yuner didn't pay attention to the two of them. At this moment, she was so excited that she wanted to raise her head to the sky and roar. Qin Feng understood this woman's thoughts. However, looking at his indifferent expression, he didn't put Ling Yuner in his eyes at all. Swish, swish, swish! The wind blew past their ears. In any case, Ling Yuner was an expert at the fourth stage of true qi. In a short while, she had already climbed to the top of the mountain with Qin Feng on her back. This mountain peak was at least 100 meters high. Qin Feng stood at the top of the mountain and looked at the world of Meteor City across the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, there was a dense mass of people. 80% of them were the expedition team called by Meteor City. Moreover, this mountain peak was endless, and there were many caves that were difficult to detect. Swish! Just as Qin Feng finished observing the terrain, Ling Yuner pulled him and flew towards the distant mountain range. Chapter 1370. Ling Yuner didn't say anything. She pulled Qin Feng and ran. After a while, the two of them arrived at a cave thousands of meters away. "Yuner beauty, why did you bring me here?" Qin Feng sneered in his heart, but his face was full of doubt. Ling Yuner was so excited that she wanted to laugh out loud. She could finally vent the anger that she had been holding in for several days. "Xiao, you dared to violate my body 4 days ago. Today, I will tear you into pieces. Ling Yun'er's body turned cold. She suddenly pulled out her sword and pointed it at Qin Feng. However, Qin Feng's expression was indifferent, as if he didn't see it. Ling Yun'er, you want to kill me again? Killing you would be too easy, bitch. Hurry up and hand over the spiritual weapon and elixir, and I can leave your corpse intact. Now that time was tight, Ling Yun'er didn't talk nonsense. If Sun Dao and Xia Long found something wrong and came looking for them, it would be troublesome. Qin Feng spread out his hands and said, Do you see a place on me to hide the spiritual weapon? The spiritual weapon and elixir are hidden in the secret room. If you kill me now, don't even think about getting them. Ling Yun'er was so angry that she pressed her sword against Qin Feng's neck. She gritted her teeth and shouted, Xiao, don't think that I don't dare to kill you. I'll give you one last chance. Where are the treasures? If you don't tell me, I will definitely cut off your dog head. A cold light flashed in Qin Feng's eyes. He suddenly sneered and said, Ha! Do you really think you can kill me? Then do it! Ling Yun'er was so angry that her body trembled. For a moment she lost her mind. She shook her sword, but there was no sign of a head falling to the ground. Qin Feng's fingers clamped the sword and it fell to the ground again. You! Ling Yun'er's expression changed greatly. She was so scared that she kept retreating. She couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. She was about to use her true qi, but she found that it was suddenly suppressed. Qin Feng had already walked up with a smile. Tisk tsk. I really didn't expect you to have such a venomous heart. Luckily, I had a trick up my sleeve and put poison in the antidote pill you ate. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to keep my life. Qin Feng's words almost made Ling Yun'er vomit blood. She finally came to her senses. Xiao looked silly, but in fact, he was more cunning than anyone else. Ling Yun'er's heart was in a mess due to the sudden change in the situation. Not only did she fail to snatch Qin Feng's spiritual weapons and spiritual pills, but she was also being controlled by him. What do you want? Qin Feng was less than a meter away, and Ling Yun'er's legs began to tremble. Don't be afraid. I won't kill you. It's just that your sincerity is starting to make me suspicious. I should go find your sect's great elder and give him some benefits. In the future, he will be able to protect me. Ling Yun'er was so frightened that her face turned deathly pale. If the great elder found out that she was hiding the matter of the spiritual weapons and spiritual pills, she might as well let Qin Feng kill her right now. Ling Yun'er realized that she was really done for this time. Her eyes darted around quickly. She suddenly pulled off the ribbon around her waist and threw herself into Qin Feng's arms. Feng. S. Qi. Of. T. Of. T. Feng, I Yun. This woman's expression changed as she wished. She knelt in front of Qin Feng and buried her head in his thighs. Qin Feng didn't stop her. He tyrannically ravaged Ling Yun'er. The mountain valley was filled with shouts and shouts. Qin Feng's emotions surged as he looked at the crowd below. Ling Yun'er, how dare you take County Magistrate Xiao away? What do you want? While the two of them were fighting fiercely, Sun Dao and Xia Long came to find them. They thought that Ling Yun'er wanted to take Qin Feng's spiritual weapon for herself. As soon as they arrived at the entrance of the cave, they were stunned. Qin Feng didn't see Sun Dao and Xia Long. Ling Yun'er was shy. Qin Feng was too powerful. Ling Yun'er didn't want to stop. She pretended she didn't see anything. 20 minutes later, the two came out. Sun Dao and Xia Long were waiting with more than 10 disciples. Ling Yun'er's shouts made them feel like a cat was scratching their hearts. But they could do nothing but listen. Ling Yun'er, are you shameless? You can do such a thing to get the spirit weapon. You're so despicable. Xia Long and Sun Dao were so angry that smoke came out of their heads. They were flattering Qin Feng. Whoever could have a good relationship with Qin Feng would get the spirit weapon sooner or later. But as men, Xia Long and Sun Dao couldn't use a honey trap. They couldn't take the soap, right? The main thing was that Xiao didn't mean to throw the soap. Ling Yun'er was embarrassed. But she pretended nothing happened. She stared at the two and said, I admire County Magistrate Xiao. What does it have to do with you? Anyway, you can't play with me. You can't eat the grapes, so you say the grapes are sour. Ling Yuna's words made the two angry. They were jealous of Qin Feng. In any case, Ling Yuna was a genius disciple of the Spirit Beast sect. Her beauty was outstanding, and her figure was indescribable. Who would have thought that she would be casually toyed with by a mere county magistrate surnamed Xiao? As for the other disciples, they didn't even dare to fantasize. Humph! The elders sent us here to inquire about the military situation. But you're messing around here. If the elders hear about this, you won't have a good ending. Sun Dao complained coldly. Ling Yuna said anxiously, I didn't see you go to inquire about the military situation. You've been eavesdropping at the entrance of the cave, right? You're a perverted but coward. Sun Dao's face darkened. He pulled out his sword and attacked. You said I'm a coward? I'll let you know my power today. Ling Yuna was shocked. She couldn't use her true qi now. Seeing that the sword was about to pierce through her, Xia Long suddenly punched Sun Dao back. What time is it now? You're still fighting among yourselves. The war between the two cities is imminent. We don't even know if we can survive this war. Save your energy to kill the enemy. Sun Dao's strength was inferior to Xia Long. He sheathed his sword and stood aside angrily. Ling Yuna broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, Xia Long intervened in time. Otherwise, she would have died here. The few of them were a little unhappy, but at this time, Xia Long and Sun Dao's expressions changed. They took out their weapons and looked at the sky behind them. Everyone be careful, there's an enemy coming up. Xia Long, who was at the 5th layer of true qi, was the strongest existence in the group. Just as he finished speaking, a dozen or so black shadows suddenly jumped out from the mountain peak. The first 3 people were extremely fast, and before Xia Long could see them clearly, they were already standing on top of the mountain peak not far away. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Following that, another dozen or so people jumped up. The number of people on both sides was about the same. Qin Feng had long since looked over there. His heart sank. There were 3 old men with unfathomable strength. Even he couldn't see through their realms. Humph! It really is a sacred gate disciple sent from the distant Ice City. One of the old men wearing a green robe was the first to speak. It was Elder Qiao Yi of Jiqin. Beside him stood a man and a woman. The man was wearing a red cloak, and his white robe was engraved with the image of a burning cloud. It was Elder Bai Qi of Yunshan. The female Taoist nun was dressed in green, and there was a crescent moon pattern on her arm. She was the old Taoist nun of Moonfall Spring. The expressions of Ling Yuna and the others changed drastically. They had long since recognized Xiao Yi. Qin Fen also recognized Xiao Yi. Not long ago, Qin Fen had fought against him on the beach of Heroes City. As for the other 2, this was the first time Qin Fen had met them. However, he could tell which sect they belonged to based on their attire. Is there no one else in the distant Ice City? They only sent you little assassins to scout out the situation? I heard that Ling Chong from the Spirit Beast sect came. Xie Juetian from the White Sun sect and Sun He from the Red Sun sect also came. Could it be that these 3 old bastards are afraid of us? They don't even dare to show their faces. Qiao Yi and the others had cold and arrogant expressions. They didn't put Ling Yuna and the others in their eyes at all. Ling Yuna and the others were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. The 3 in front of them were revered experts at the 6th stage of true qi. They could kill them with a single palm. The atmosphere was somewhat oppressive. Ling Yuna and the others didn't dare to say anything for a long time. Ji Qin and Xiao Yi spoke again. You bunch of ants, why aren't you kneeling and begging for mercy? If I'm in a good mood, I can spare your lives. Ling Yuna and the others' expressions darkened. They were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. Seeing that they didn't move, Xiao Yi casually slapped down. Before anyone could react, one of the Spirit Beast sect's disciples at the 3rd stage of true qi exploded into a pile of flesh and blood. The surroundings immediately became quiet. Only the howling wind could be heard. Ling Yun'er and the others' eyes were filled with fear. Some of the disciples' legs started to tremble, and 3 of them ran down the mountain. Want to run? Do you think we don't exist? Yuluo Quan's Taoist nun Fan Yu swept the horsetail whisk in her hand. 2 of the disciples immediately exploded. Yun Huashan and Bai Qi pointed 2 fingers into the air, and a blue light shot out. Another disciple suddenly fell to the ground and couldn't get up. His blood flowed like a river. 3 experts at the 3rd stage of True Qi fell just like that. It all happened in the span of a breath. The strength of Qiao Yi and the others was too strong. Under this intimidation, Ling Yun'er and the others no longer had the heart to resist. Plop! The 8 or 9 disciples had already knelt on the ground and started kowtowing to the enemy's elders. Ling Yun'er and the others had faces full of struggle, but in the end, they all succumbed and knelt down. Qiao Yi and the others had a complacent expression on their faces. But halfway through their smiles, Bai Qi's face suddenly turned cold. On the opposite peak, everyone was kneeling in a row. But this stinking brat was still standing straight with a smile on his face? Stinking brat, do you want to die? Bai Qi roared angrily, like a muffled thunder falling from the sky. Ling Yun'er and the others also realized that Qin Feng was still standing. They were depressed to death. First, this person pretended to be pretentious in front of them. Not long ago, he pretended to be pretentious in front of the 3 great elders of distant Ice City. Now, he pretended to be pretentious in front of the great elder of Meteor City. Lord Xiao, hurry up and kneel. Ling Yun'er couldn't help but remind him. She didn't care about Qin Feng's life or death. She was mainly afraid that Qin Feng would anger the opposite elder. At that time, everyone would be in trouble. 3 great elders, don't be angry. That brat is just a county magistrate. His status is low, and he doesn't know your esteemed status. Xia Long hurriedly put in a good word. Sun Dao echoed. And that guy is a bit retarded. Not long ago, he almost quarreled with our Red Sun sect's great elder Sun He. Chapter 1371. The Sacred Gate disciples from distant Ice City were infuriated by Qin Feng's behavior, but Qin Feng suddenly shouted, "Why should we kneel and beg for mercy? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself first? What is your Meteor City? How can the 3 sacred gates compare to our distant Ice City?" Qin Feng's words stunned everyone. Ling Yun'er and the others trembled in fear and felt death approaching. Qiao Yi and the other 2 elders were stunned. Disbelief flashed through their eyes, and they even suspected that there was something wrong with their ears. "Trash ant, I'll show you what Mount Yunhua is capable of." White Blaze waved her hand, and a blue sword beam shot out from her sleeve. Just as it was about to pierce through Qin Feng's head, Qiao Yi casually slapped it away, and the sword beam landed on the ground beside them, blasting a hole in the mountain peak. Bai Qi was stunned. She glared at Qiao Yi and shouted, "Qiao, what do you mean by this? Are you siding with an outsider?" Ji Chun and Qiao Yi glared at Bai Qi coldly and said, "I, Ji Chun, am the leader of Meteor City's Sacred Gate. My sect master has given the order that this city battle will be carried out in the form of a duel between experts. I don't want to fight to the death." The meaning of Qiao Ye's words was clear enough. Bai Qi and Fan Yu's expressions turned ugly, but they didn't attack again. They had only killed a few ordinary disciples from distant Ice City as a show. They wouldn't really start a massacre, because that would mean that they would fight to the death. However, Qin Feng's words were too arrogant. Qiao Yi shouted with a cold face, "Stinking brat, you're just a county magistrate. How dare you look down on the sacred gate of Meteor City? If you don't kneel, do you believe that I won't slap you to death?" Qiao Yi was a powerful cultivator at the 6th layer of True Qi. Just his aura alone was enough to make Ling Yun'er and the others gasp for breath. They secretly gave Qin Feng meaningful looks. "Look at the situation right now, can't you fucking calm down a little?" However, Qin Feng held his head high and said, "I don't believe it." "Huh!" Everyone couldn't help but be puzzled. Qiao Ye's old eyes almost fell to the ground. Fan Yu and White Blaze were so angry that they started to smile coldly. Without waiting for Qiao Yi to make a move, Ling Yun already shouted. Elder Qiao, why you can't kill Magistrate Qiao? He's the illegitimate son of our spirit beast sex Grand Elder Ling Chong. In a moment of desperation, Ling Yun could tell any lie she wanted. She didn't really care about Qin Feng's life and death. She just couldn't watch as the spiritual weapons and spiritual pills disappeared just like that. Everyone was stunned again. Even Sun Dao and Xia Long stole a glance at Ling Yun in disbelief. However, the two of them quickly recovered. Their thoughts were exactly the same as Ling Yun's. Yes, yes! Qiao Jixian is the illegitimate son of Grand Elder Ling Chong. Even the sacred gate of Distant Eye City knows about this. 3 elders, please let us go. If you really kill us, this city war will not end until one of us is dead. Xia Long and Sun Dao also started to plead for mercy. The two of them weren't stupid. When they heard Xiao Yi say that they wanted to use the city war method, they used the threat of not ending until they died to scare him. Xiao Yi and the other two were still in a daze. They still had doubts about Qin Feng being Ling Chang's illegitimate son. However, the situation was special. They would rather believe it than not. If Qin Feng was really Ling Chang's illegitimate son, killing him now would be troublesome. Why, you're really Ling Chang's illegitimate son? White Blaze couldn't help but ask. Qin Feng was speechless at Ling Yun. He glared at White Blaze and said, "And who are you?" White Blaze couldn't stand Qin Feng's arrogance. He suppressed his anger and said, "I'm Cloud Volcano's elder White Blaze." "Oh, you're an idiot. This name suits your temperament very well." White Blaze's expression changed. She jumped up and down in anger. "Are you deaf? My name is White Blaze. Blaze as in blazing. 4 sounds. You're an idiot. I know you're an idiot." Qin Feng had an indifferent attitude. White Blaze was fuming with anger. Ling Yun and the others looked at him dumbfoundedly. They began to suspect that this brat was here to court death. Whoosh! Just as the atmosphere was about to explode, a pink light flashed. White Blaze's expression changed drastically. He slapped Sun Dao, who was kneeling on the ground. "Brat, you dare to plot against me?" Boom! The cosmic flying sword missed its target and smashed a mountain top. At the same time, Sun Dao's body was also smashed. This true Qi level 4 expert didn't know what happened before he died. He was already kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. Why did he still want to kill him? White Blaze's palm completely turned the tide of the battle. Ling Yun and Xia Long drew their swords. They thought that the other party was going to kill them. The 8 or 9 disciples also flew up, ready to fight to the death. Rumble! For a moment, the mountain was filled with loud noises. The disciples from the 3 sacred gates of Distant Eye City were only at the 3rd or 4th level of true Qi. They couldn't even withstand a single blow from Qiao Yi and the other 2 old monsters who were at the 6th level of true Qi. Xia Long was the strongest, but he was only at the 5th level of true Qi. After enduring a few moves, he was smashed into pieces by Qiao Yi. Ling Yun died even faster. When she raised her sword and rushed to the front of the opponent's disciple, she suddenly remembered that the true Qi in her body was sealed by poison. There was no need for Qiao Yi and the other 2 elders to do anything. The group of Sacred Gate disciples from Meteor City would kill her. This battle started because of Qin Feng's flying sword. But at this moment, he was nowhere to be seen at the peak of MT visualization. Not good, Ling Chang's illegitimate son escaped. Xiao Ye's expression changed drastically. White Blaze looked at the scattered flesh and blood around him, and was slightly worried. Looks like this city battle will not end until one side is dead. Who was the one who attacked just now? Fan Yu had already calmed down. Suspicion arose in her heart. The 2 of them looked at White Blaze. It was White Blaze who attacked first. White Blaze looked at the location of Sun Dao's corpse. His expression changed unpredictably. His eyes lit up as if he suddenly realized something. He was so angry that the veins on his face bulged. The flying sword was shot from Sun Dao's direction, so White Blaze naturally thought that it was a sneak attack. Now that he thought about it, Qin Feng was standing behind Sun Dao. Ling Chang's illegitimate son is too cunning. He has been hiding his strength. That sword was his sneak attack. White Blaze suddenly shouted. Xiao Yi and Fan Yu's expressions changed. The three of them could tell that Qin Feng was just an ordinary person without any true qi. It was also because of this that White Blaze didn't think that Qin Feng was the one who shot the sword at White Blaze. That was why he was in such an irreversible situation. What a Qiao! It must be Ling Chong who ordered that brat to do this. Looks like Distant Ice City has already decided to fight until one side is dead. Let's retreat. I'll go back and report this to the sect leader. Xiao Yi leaped and flew down the mountain. At the same time, Qin Feng also descended the mountain. Ling Chong and the others immediately surrounded him. Eh? Why is it only you who came down? Where are Ling Yuner and the others? Ling Chong glared at Qin Feng coldly. From the beginning to the end, he didn't care about a mere county magistrate. Qin Feng said with a panicked expression, "No, it's bad. The sacred gate of Meteor City is going to start a massacre. They won't stop until one side is dead. The few of us had just ascended the mountain, and that elder Xiao Yi brought people to kill Ling Yuner and the others without saying anything. What? Is what you said true?" Ling Chong roared angrily. It was as if the earth was shaking. The disciples from the sacred gate all had bitter expressions. The able-bodied men who were captured were even more disheartened. Everyone was afraid that the battle would not stop until one side was dead. Anyone would be afraid of death. Ling Chang's expression changed. He suddenly glared at Qin Feng. "That's not right. If they were going to fight until one side is dead, how did you escape?" Everyone cast doubtful gazes at Qin Feng. They could tell that Qin Feng didn't have any true qi waves on him. He was just an ordinary person. Even Ling Yuner and the others had died. How did Qin Feng escape? "Great Elder Ling Chong, those people let me go because I don't have any martial arts. They let me come back to pass the message. That old man called Xiao Yi is too arrogant. He said that he wanted to massacre Distant Ice City. He wanted the sacred gate to surrender quickly. Otherwise, they would all die under his blade." Qin Feng had already thought of an excuse on the way back. Originally, the sacred gates of both cities hoped that the battle would be carried out through a battle between experts. Now that Qin Feng had sowed dissension, it had reached the point where one side would not stop until one side was dead. Ling Chong stared at Qin Feng for a long time. He suddenly roared toward the sky. "Damn that Ji Chen! He dares to not put my spirit beast sect in his eyes. I will go back and report to the sect leader. We will fight until one side is dead." After Qin Feng's provocation, the top elders of both sides rushed back to their sects to report the situation. It seemed like a huge battle could break out at any time. The troops of both sides were only separated by a mountain. Without Ling Chang's command, everyone held back. Qin Feng ran to the group of able-bodied men. "County Magistrate Qiao!" As soon as he arrived, the group of able-bodied men immediately greeted him respectfully. Although the Sacred Gate disciples looked down on Qin Feng's status as a county magistrate, these poor people were very afraid of him. "County Magistrate Qiao, are we really going to fight until one side is dead?" A burly man walked to Qin Feng's side. "What is your name?" Qin Feng asked. The burly man immediately answered. "Lord Xiao, this lowly one is Gao Jin. I am a villager from Miao Village in West Town." Qin Feng had stayed in West Town for a period of time. He had heard about the three villages. Apart from Hua Village, where Hua Xiaojun was, there was also Miao Village and Water Village. Gao Jin looked honest. He trembled in fear when he spoke to Qin Feng. He should be a practical man who was willing to endure hardship. However, he was captured to be an able-bodied man because of the war between the two cities. Qin Feng thought of the second side mission of the city war. He was asked to protect the poor people and change their rigid mindset. Qin Feng came to this group of able-bodied men to complete this mission. "Gao Jin, it has been confirmed that the two cities will fight until one side is dead. Ling Chong has already gone back to the sect to ask the sect leader. When he returns, it will be the start of the war. When that time comes, everyone will die, Qin Feng said. Chapter 1372. Qin Feng saw the desire to die in Gao Jin's eyes and continued. Do you want to live? Gao Jin was stunned. He looked at Qin Feng dumbfoundedly and nodded. I want to live, then let's escape tonight. Let's take everyone with us. Qin Feng already had a series of plans in mind. Tonight was the best time for Gao Jin to escape with the able-bodied men. However, Gao Jin was shocked and immediately knelt in front of Qin Feng. Magistrate Qiao, please spare my life. I shouldn't have thought of living. I will fight to the death for Distant Ice City. Qin Feng was stunned. He was almost amused by the conservative mindset of the people in China. What kind of people were they? Hurry and stand up. Do you want to live or not? Qin Feng's face darkened. Gao Jin didn't dare to stand up. He knelt on the ground while shivering. I know Magistrate Qiao is testing my will. Don't worry, I won't have any thoughts of living anymore. Qin Feng couldn't bear to listen any longer. He wanted to slap this man awake. He forcefully pulled Gao Jing up and whispered in his ear. I'm not testing you. You want to live, and I also want to live. Everyone is born equal. Why is the life of a Sacred Gate disciple so precious? Why are people from the Yamen superior to others? Even if you don't want to live, you have to think about your family, right? If you really die, what will happen to them? As a hedonistic young master, Qin Feng rarely educated people. He was always flirting with them. Gao Jin stared at Qin Feng as if he had seen a ghost. He even suspected that Qin Feng had a problem with his brain. How could he say such disgraceful words? Moreover, weren't you from the Yamen? Why were you scolding me? Magistrate Qiao, I still can't escape. As a lowly commoner, my life is in the hands of the Yamen and the Sacred Gate. Now that the two cities are at war, I have to fight. Qin Feng felt his chest tighten. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Fuck you. I've been reasoning with you for so long. Why can't you understand? What lowly commoner? What life is in the hands of others? Even if you help them conquer the city, it won't be yours. You're still trash at the bottom, a dog ordered around by those people. In a fit of anger, Qin Feng's tone was a little harsh. For the first time, a hint of anger appeared in Gao Jing's eyes. He clenched his fists tightly, and looked like he was going to hit Qin Feng. However, it was only for a moment, and he returned to his yes-man appearance. Don't say any more, Qiao Jixian. I won't run away. Qin Feng was so angry that he had internal injuries. He coldly tossed out his last words. Think carefully. If you want to escape, escape with everyone tonight. If you don't escape, you'll die on the battlefield. At that time, your wife will be played by others, your daughter will be sold to a brothel, and your son will continue to be suppressed like you. This is the result you want. Qin Feng angrily swung his sleeves and left. Gao Jin stood in the crowd with bloodshot eyes, unable to regain his senses for a long time. There was still no movement from the troops on either side. Qin Feng found a place with no one and stepped on his flying sword to the summit of Sunset Peak. He looked at the dense mass of people at the foot of the mountain and jumped down without hesitation. Who is it? Oh no, the enemy has made a move. Someone among the soldiers of Meteor City shouted. Instantly, the tens of thousands of people went into an uproar. The sound of weapons clashing and all sorts of screams could be heard. Two figures landed beside Qin Feng. The moment they saw Qin Feng, they were infuriated. Brat, you still dare to come back? This is what you get for framing me. I'll kill you with my sword. Fan Yu stood at the side with a cold expression. Bai Qi had already swung his sword, but Qin Feng stood still at the foot of the mountain. He said, I want to see Ji Chen's sect leader. I have a way to help you win this battle. I'm an idiot if I believe you again. Bai Qi didn't stop. Seeing that his sword was about to pierce through Qin Feng, Fan Yu waved her horsetail whisk and stopped him. You're an idiot. I already knew that. Qin Feng said as if nothing had happened. Bai Qi was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He glared at Fan Yu and shouted, "You better move away, or else I won't be polite." Fan Yu was speechless at Qin Feng's words. She stood in front of Qin Feng and said, "Don't be so agitated. Let's listen to this brat's plan first." "What plan can he have?" "He's from Distant Ice City, and he's the illegitimate son of that old fart, Ling Chong. Do you think he'll help Meteor City?" Bai Qi didn't believe Qin Feng even if he was beaten to death. Fan Yu didn't believe it either. But now that the two cities were at war, Fan Yu was worried. She placed her hope on Qin Feng. If Qin Feng was lying, she could just kill him with another sword. "Don't mention that bastard Ling Chong to me. He caused so much trouble for me and my mother. I want to kill him with my own hands." Qin Feng's face suddenly turned sinister, giving Fan Yu and Bai Qi a fright. "Ah. Keep pretending, you brat. Do you think I'll believe you with just a few words? Unless I'm Bai." Bai Qi swallowed the last word. He didn't think there was anything wrong with his name, but now he wanted to change it. Fan Yu ignored Bai Qi and glared at Qin Feng. "Tell me what plan you have. If you're lying, I'll kill you with one palm." Qin Feng acted as if he didn't hear Fan Yu's threat. "I said we'll talk when we meet Ji Chen's sect leader. Even if I tell you now, you won't be able to make the decision. You'll have to report to the sect leader. Why make it so troublesome?" Fan Yu was so angry that her face turned pale. She almost couldn't control herself and slapped Qin Feng to death. Bai Qi shouted again. "You saw it too. Look at how capable this brat is. Does he really think he's a big deal? Let me kill him with one sword." Qin Feng leisurely stood at the foot of the mountain, allowing Bai Qi and Fan Yu to quarrel. In the end, Bai Qi took a step back. He didn't want to see the two cities fight to the death. Bai Qi stayed behind to continue guarding the Sunset Visualization Mountain while Fan Yu brought Qin Fen to where Ji Chen was. Qin Fen's heart was filled with excitement. He had been searching for the location of the sect in the Despair Realm and now, he finally found one. At the same time, the main hall of Ji Chen's sect was filled with people. Not only Elder Ji Chen, but there were also people from Cloud Volcano and Yuluo Quan. Those who could stand in the hall were all important people from the three sections. The Great Elder stood in a row, while the Junior Elder stood outside as guards. Even the sect leaders of the three sects were gathered here. A white-haired old man sat on a stone lion chair in the main hall. He looked very weak, but he was Ji Chen's sect leader, Ji Hun. There were two people sitting at the front of the stone chairs. The man was Cloud Volcano's sect leader, Bai Xingdou, and the woman was Yuluo Chuan's sect leader, Lady Fan. Xiao Yu was standing in the middle of the main hall. He had just finished reporting the situation in Distant Ice City. The atmosphere in the main hall was heavy. All the elders and sect leaders were frowning. With their current status and power, who would be willing to fight to the death? Humph! The Spirit Beast sect thinks too highly of themselves, don't they? Threatening us with a fight to the death? Do they really think we're afraid of them? After a long while, Xiao Hun slapped the stone chair and stood up. The sturdy stone lion immediately shattered into pieces. "Sect leader Xiao, we need to analyze the situation calmly. We can't lose our composure." Yuluo Chuan's sect leader, Lady Fan, immediately stood up and advised. The people sitting in the row all stood up. Bai Xingdou echoed Lady Fan's words and said, "Lady Fan is right. Our three sacred sects have been rooted in Meteor City for decades. Now that our foundation is stable and we're developing rapidly, how can we be destroyed just like that? If we really fight to the death with Distant Ice City, even if we win in the end, the sacred sects from the other cities will come to reap the benefits." The rest of the people nodded, expressing their agreement with Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou's words. However, everyone's status was too low, so no one dared to speak up. Xiao Hun, on the other hand, calmed down a little. He suddenly looked at Xiao Yi and said, "I clearly told you to negotiate and start the war with experts. How did it become a fight to the death? The three sects of the Spirit Beast sect are not brainless people." Xiao Hun's words made everyone realize that there was indeed something fishy going on. Everyone looked at Xiao Yi, and he was so scared that he almost knelt down. Sect leader Qiao, it's Ling Chang's illegitimate son. Qiao Hun and the other two sect leaders were shocked. They knew who Ling Chong was, but when did he have an illegitimate son outside? What illegitimate son? Who is that guy? Qiao Hun roared angrily, and the entire hall shook. However, before Qiao Yi could speak, a young elder from Jichen walked in from outside. Sect leader Qiao, Elder Fan Yu of Moonfall Spring requests an audience. She said that she brought Ling Chang's illegitimate son here. Time in the hall seemed to have stopped for a few seconds. Everyone was talking about Qin Feng, but Fan Yu had already brought him over. Qiao Hun gave the order, and Fan Yu had already brought Qin Feng into the hall. Inside the house were the Great Elder and the sect leader. Even with little Elder Fan Yu's status, she was only a lackey. The moment Qin Feng entered the house, he was shocked. The true energy in the house was surging and surging, as if it was boundless and boundless like the vast ocean. There were even 3 people whose strength Qin Feng couldn't see clearly. Everyone's gazes fell on Qin Feng, making him slightly nervous. The weakest person in the hall was at the 5th stage of true energy, and the strongest 3 were at an unknown level. Qin Feng felt that even if he brought out the Black Dragon tank, he might not have a chance of winning. This is Ling Chang's illegitimate son? Is his identity fake? Qiao Hun asked coldly. Fan Yu's voice trembled slightly. Replying sect leader Qiao, he is indeed Ling Chang's illegitimate son. How would Fan Yu know if Qin Feng was Ling Chang's illegitimate son? But even if he wasn't, she still had to admit it. It would be very scary to anger sect leader Qiao Hun. Chapter 1373. Just as Qiao Hun finished speaking, 2 of Ji Chen's junior elders entered the room. Without another word, they escorted Qin Feng out of the room. Fan Yu said, Qiao, sect leader Qiao, calm down. This kid says he wants to discuss something with you. Everyone was shocked as they looked at Fan Yu with strange expressions. The sect master of Yuluoquan, Fairy Fan, had a cold expression as she shouted, Fan Yu, what are you doing? Sect leader Qiao Hun is an illegitimate son of Ling Chong. Does he deserve to talk to you? Fan Yu trembled in fear. She naturally knew of Qiao Hun's esteemed status. He was practically the king of Meteor City. However, the war between the 2 cities was critical and no one wanted to fight to the death. Qin Feng said he had a way to help Meteor City win. That was why she took the risk to bring Qin Feng here. Sect leader Immortal, please calm down. This kid said he has a way to help Meteor City win, Fan Yu said hurriedly. The huge hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone stared at Fan Yu with different expressions. Some even suspected that there was something wrong with the nun's head. Bastard! That kid is Ling Chang's illegitimate son. Why would he help Meteor City? Hurry up and take him to the prison. I'll kill anyone who dares to say another word. Qiao Hun's enraged roar was so powerful that it caused the great elders to shudder in fear. Lady Immortal and Bai Xingdou didn't dare to speak anymore. Fan Yu was so scared that her legs trembled, and she almost knelt down. Ji Chen's junior elder had already left with Qin Feng. Qin Feng suddenly said, Sect leader Qiao, are you really going to miss the chance to defeat Distant Ice City? Do you want to fight to the death? Everyone in the room had a cold expression, and dozens of murderous auras shot towards Qin Feng. Qin Feng acted as if he didn't see it and continued. Forget it. Since sect leader Qiao doesn't believe me, I won't say any more. Everyone was speechless. They didn't know what Qin Feng was thinking. Did he think they were 3-year-olds? Seeing that he was being escorted to the door, Qiao Hun suddenly shouted. Wait! Let's hear what this kid has to say first. Everyone in the hall was stunned and looked at Qiao Hun in surprise. He actually believed Ling Chang's illegitimate son? Without waiting for Qin Feng to speak, Fairy Fan stepped forward and said, Sect leader Qiao Hun, please reconsider. Bai Xingdou also said, This kid was obviously sent by the enemy to disrupt our morale. Sect leader Qiao, don't believe his nonsense. Bai Xingdou and Lady Fan weren't the only ones who didn't believe him. The elders in the room were also shaking their heads. However, their status was limited, so they didn't even dare to say anything. Humph! He's just an ant that hasn't even stepped into the realm of true qi. If he really dares to play any tricks, I can destroy him at any time. Xiao Hun had a nonchalant look on his face, as though he did not care about Qin Feng at all. Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou stopped trying to persuade him. Just as Xiao Hun had said, Qin Feng did not even have any vital qi in his body. What could an ant like him do? Everyone's gaze fell back on Qin Feng. They really wanted to hear what kind of plan he had. This kid really had guts to come to Ji Chen's sect alone. Sect leader Qiao, your sect doesn't want to fight to the death, right? Qin Feng stood at the door with a casual expression, making it more and more difficult for everyone to understand him. Nonsense, no one wants to fight to the death. Xiao Han revealed an impatient expression. Qin Feng waved his hand and said, Sect leader Qiao, you're wrong. Your meteor city doesn't want to fight to the death, but the 3 sacred sects of distant Ice City came to attack the city with the determination to die. Qin Feng's words caused the hall to gasp. Everyone knew from Qiao Yi that distant Ice City wanted to fight to the death, but it felt completely different when they heard it from Qin Feng's mouth. Is what you said true? Where did you get this information from? Xiao Hun's expression changed as he stared at Qin Feng solemnly. Of course I heard it from the Spirit Beast sect. Now the sect leader of the Spirit Beast sect is gathering the disciples of the White Sun sect and the Red Sun sect. They are expected to attack tonight. The gasps in the hall became even more intense. The elders and even the 3 sect leaders looked flustered. Xiao Hun's eyes lit up, and he suddenly said, Wait, you didn't purposely spread the news, did you? If distant Ice City really wanted to attack, they would have sent out a declaration of war in advance. Now that Meteor City hasn't received any news, how would they dare to attack? Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou also calmed down. According to the rules of the past city wars, they would send out the attack signal in advance. Bai Xingdou said, Sect leader Qiao, I still don't believe that brat's nonsense. No matter what, he's from distant Ice City. Why would he be kind enough to help us? Let's take that brat to the prison first and wait for Ling Chong to come. Lady Fan also expressed her opinion. Xiao Hun didn't rush to make a decision. After hesitating for a while, he said, Little ant, you've been talking nonsense for so long. What's your plan? Qin Feng said unhurriedly. According to the information I received, the 3 sacred sects of distant Ice City are going to attack Jichen tonight. As long as Jichen is killed, Moonfall Spring and Cloudy Volcano are no longer a threat. Sect leader Qiao can lead an elite force to attack the Spirit Beast sect, catch them off guard, and take down their base. Qin Feng had already thought of this plan, but he had offended the 3 sect leaders as soon as he said it. Brat, how dare you say that my Cloudy Volcano is not a threat? I want to see how capable you are. Bai Xingdou was the first to jump up and slashed at Qin Feng with his saber. Lady Fan waved her horsetail whisk, and several murderous auras flew over. Bai Xingdou attacked, but he wanted to kill Qin Feng first. The great elders had playful looks on their faces, and they looked as if Qin Feng was going to die. However, Xiao Hun was standing in front of Qin Feng out of nowhere, and casually dispelled the 2's killing moves with 2 palms. Sect leader Qiao. The 2 looked at Xiao Hun in confusion. Xiao Hun waved his long sleeves and said in a deep voice, This is Jichen. Without my order, no one is allowed to do anything. Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou were a little unhappy, but they still returned to their seats. Everyone stared at Qin Feng fiercely. If it wasn't for Xiao Hun, they thought that Qin Feng would have died a few hundred times. Why should I believe you? Xiao Hun glared at Qin Feng. It's up to you whether you believe me or not, sect leader Qiao. Anyway, the war between the 2 cities has nothing to do with me. I'm just a small county magistrate of Far Ice City's west town. No matter which side wins, I won't get any benefits. Qin Feng said. Aren't you Ling Chang's illegitimate son? How did you become a county magistrate? Xiao Hun looked confused. Qin Feng should have joined the Spirit Beast sect to cultivate. However, Xiao Han suddenly realized that Qin Feng had no true qi on him. he had never cultivated before. Unexpectedly, Qin Feng suddenly flew into a rage. He pointed at Xiao Hun and shouted, "Shut up! Don't mention that bastard Ling Chong." Everyone was shocked, and their eyes and jaws dropped to the ground. Even Bai Xingdou and Lady Fan had to give in to Xiao Hun, and the great elder in the room didn't even dare to speak to Xiao Hun. Who would have thought that Qin Feng would point at Xiao Hun's nose and scold him in front of everyone? Xiao Hun's face darkened, and true qi surged out of his body, pressuring everyone so much that they didn't even dare to breathe. "Brat, do you want to die?" Qin Feng looked at Xiao Hun dumbly and said, "Sect leader Xiao, why are you so angry?" "I'm scolding that bastard Ling Chong, not you." Xiao Hun's face was gloomy, but he didn't want to reprimand Qin Feng. He suddenly looked at Xiao Yi and said, "I asked you to gather information, and you said that the Spirit Beast sect is prepared to fight to the death. Is that true?" Xiao Hun was starting to believe Qin Feng's words. Qin Feng was just an ordinary person who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Why would he lie? Even if Distant Eyes City wanted to find someone to sow discord, they should have found someone who was more powerful. Xiao Yi didn't know whether Distant Eyes City was prepared to fight to the death or not. In fact, those were just his guesses. He didn't mention that he had killed Ling Yuner and the others, mainly because he was afraid that sect leader Xiao Han would blame him. Now that he had killed a few of their genius disciples, it was obvious that the situation was going to escalate to the death. "Sect leader Xiao, according to my information, Distant Eyes City indeed has such intentions. Moreover, Bai Qi and Fan Yu were there at the time, they heard it too." Xiao Yi wasn't stupid. He was going to drag 2 people down with him even if he was going to die. Bai Qi was still guarding the sunset-gazing mountain, but Fan Yu was standing in the house. Her face was cold, and she was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. But since things had already come to this, Fan Yu could only help Xiao Yi lie. After all, she had also killed a disciple of Distant Eyes City. "Sect leader Xiao, Elder Xiao Yi is speaking the truth. Bai Qi and I heard it too," Fan Yu said. At this moment, everyone was sure that Distant Eyes City was going to fight to the death, and their hearts were incomparably worried. Xiao Hun was a little flustered. He suddenly looked at Qin Feng and placed all his hopes on him. After reanalyzing Qin Feng's plan, Xiao Hun felt that it was feasible. As long as they could take down Distant Eyes City's biggest sacred sect, Spirit Beast sect, they wouldn't have to fear White Sang and Red Sunday. "Sect leaders, what do you think?" Xiao Hun still couldn't make up his mind. He looked at Bai Xingdou and Lady Fan. The 2 of them were also anxious. Bai Xingdou said, "Since it's going to be a fight to the death, why don't we try according to that kid's plan? We won't be at a disadvantage anyway." Lady Fan nodded and said, "We can give it a try. This battle is unavoidable." The 2 of them had the same thought as Xiao Hun. If the 3 sacred sects of Distant Eyes City wanted to fight to the death, there would be a battle sooner or later. Even if Qin Feng's words were false, they could just kill their way to Spirit Beast sect and start fighting. "All right, I will believe you this once. If you lie to us, I will definitely smash you into pieces." After a moment of silence, Xiao Hun made the final decision. Those great elders had no right to speak. Xiao Hun's words were the law. The battle was imminent. Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou had already left with their people. Since they were going to attack Spirit Beast sect tonight, they would return to the sect to gather the elite disciples. Chapter 1374. Qin Feng had devised a strategy, and this city battle was almost under his control. At the same time, Spirit Beast sect was having an emergency meeting, and the representatives of the 3 sacred sects were all gathered here. Ling Chong had already explained the situation, and the atmosphere in the hall was heavy. "The sacred sects of Meteor City are too arrogant. They killed our disciples without saying a word. Do they think we don't exist?" A gray-robed elder suddenly stood up, and his anger reached the sky. This person was the sect master of White Warehouse sect, Xie Qingping. The white-robed elder sitting opposite him also stood up. There was a red sun pattern engraved on his chest, and it was the sect master of Red Sun Sect, Sun Ju. "Sect Master Ling, say something. Why don't we attack them at night and annihilate them?" On the high platform sat a white-robed elder. His clothes were engraved with bird and beast patterns. This was the uniform of Spirit Beast Sect, and the elder was the sect master of Spirit Beast Sect, Ling Jinfeng. The gazes of everyone in the room all landed on Ling Jinfeng, waiting for his command. In comparison, Meteor City's 3 sacred gates were slightly weaker than distant Ice City. If they were to fight to the death, would they still be afraid of Meteor City? Ling Jinfeng suddenly stood up, and everyone below the platform stood up as well. He paced to the center of the crowd with his hands behind his back. After a while he said, "Based on my understanding of Qiao Hun, he won't start a fight to the death. This matter is a little strange. Let's not move first, and see what they are up to." With Ling Jinfeng's order, no one dared to object. The elite disciples of the 3 sacred sects of distant Ice City gathered in Spirit Beast Sect and decided to observe the situation tonight. The night was getting late, and not a single soul could be seen on the streets and alleys of the 2 cities. The disciples of the sects gathered in the sect and prepared to depart. The able-bodied men who were captured stood guard at the foot of MT Sunset. The poor people hid in their homes and didn't dare to go out. The night seemed peaceful, but a great battle was about to begin. A half-moon rose into the sky. Gao Jin sat at the foot of the cliff, looked up at the moon, and lowered his head to think of his hometown. Ever since Qin Feng told him that in the afternoon, Gao Jin couldn't calm down. His mind was filled with his wife's smile, his elderly mother's hunched back, and the crying of his newborn child. He suddenly began to question his own thoughts. What right did he have to fight to the death? What did the sacred gate and the yamen give him? "Zhang Zhong, are you asleep?" Gao Jing's expression changed as if he had made the most difficult and important decision in his life. A brawny man beside him rubbed his sleepy eyes and said, "What's wrong, Gao Jin? Why aren't you sleeping?" "I heard that the war is going to start tomorrow. You have to be mentally prepared." Gao Jin interrupted Zhang Zhong and whispered in his ear, "Let's not fight anymore. Let's escape to our hometown tonight." Zhang Zhong suddenly jumped up, and his sleepiness was gone. He stared at Gao Jin as if he had seen a ghost. Are you crazy? Why would you have such an idea?" Gao Jin seemed to see his past self. He finally understood why County Magistrate Xiao was so angry before he left. At this moment, Gao Jin was also very angry. He wanted to wake Zhang Zhong up with a slap. He didn't waste any more words and told Zhang Zhong what Qin Feng had said before he left. "Zhang Zhong, after you die, your wife will be played by others, your parents will starve to death, your daughter will become a prostitute, and your son will have the same fate as you, being oppressed by others. If that's what you want, then continue sleeping." Gao Jin had already swung his sleeves and left angrily. Zhang Zhong was so stunned that he couldn't come back to his senses. After a moment, he suddenly raised his head and looked at the half-moon in the sky. His expression changed slightly, and he ran to kick the man beside him to wake him up. "Black Yak, I won't waste any more words with you. If you die, your wife will be played by others, your parents will starve to death, your daughter will become a prostitute, and your son will have the same fate as you. If that's what you want, then wait for the battle tomorrow. I'm going to escape." Black Yak rubbed his sleepy eyes and still hadn't come back to his senses. He saw Gao Jin and Zhang Zhong's figures shuttling through the crowd. Every time they pulled up a person, they would repeat what they just said. The words that came out of Qin Feng's mouth became a sharp weapon that awakened the warrior's sealed thoughts. It was like a dagger that sliced open everyone's brains and cut off all the distorted thoughts that had been sealed for a long time. For a moment, tens of thousands of able-bodied men from all over distant Ice City were shaken. With Gao Jin as their leader, they knocked out a few Holy Gate disciples who were guarding the area and fled in panic. "Big brother Gao Jin, where are you going?" Zhang Zhong met Gao Jin again in the chaos and saw him climbing up MT Guanxia. Gao Jin's expression was resolute as if he had changed into a different person overnight. "The able-bodied men of Meteor City are as innocent as we are. I'm going to wake them up." Seeing that Gao Jin had already disappeared into the night, Zhang Zhong gritted his teeth and followed him. Under the duo's efforts, the tens of thousands of able-bodied men from Meteor City started to resist. The battle between the two sides hadn't even started, but the able-bodied men had already fled in different directions. A group of people rushed over from Meteor City. When they arrived at the foot of Mt. Guanxia, they were stunned. Other than a few Holy Gate disciples who had been knocked out, the able-bodied men were nowhere to be seen. Qiao Yi, what's going on? This group of people was led by Qiao Hun. They were the Holy Gate disciples of Meteor City who were preparing to attack the Spirit Beast Sect's base during the night. Qiao Yu was already dumbfounded. He remembered that everything was still fine before he returned to the sect. Where did the 10,000 able-bodied men go? Sect Master Qiao, I don't know either. I've been in the sect all afternoon. Qiao Yu was so depressed that he was about to cry. Qin Feng heaved a long sigh of relief. It seemed like he hadn't wasted his time talking to Gao Jin. Fan Yu was also dumbfounded. She didn't understand the situation. At this moment, a black shadow flew over. Just as Qiao Hun was about to slash with his blade, he heard the person shouting, "Everyone don't attack! I'm Elder Bai Qi from Mount Cloud Mountain." Bai Qi's figure landed in front of the crowd. Bai Xingdou hurriedly asked, "Bai Qi, what's going on here?" Bai Qi held a long sword in his hand. There were some bloodstains on his body. It seemed like he had just fought with someone. In reply to Sect Master, the able-bodied men rebelled. They knocked out a few Holy Gate disciples. I chased after them and killed dozens of them, but most of them escaped. The night was already cold and quiet. Bai Qi's words caused the surroundings to sink into a strange atmosphere. The eyes of Qiao Hun and the others fell to the ground. The able-bodied men escaped? This was even more terrifying than Qin Feng joining Meteor City. The able-bodied men were a bunch of stubborn commoners who always obeyed the Holy Gate's orders. Did they take the wrong medicine tonight? Qiao Hun only came back to his senses after a long while. He had already cast aside the able-bodied men. The war between the two cities was originally a competition between the Holy Gate's forces. As for those able-bodied men, they were just there to make up the numbers. Speed up and kill our way into the Spirit Beast sect. Qiao Yi gave the order, and the group set off again. A Spirit Beast sect disciple was leading the group. This person was a spy that Ji Chen had planted in the Spirit Beast sect. When everyone crossed the sunset-gazing mountain, they were stunned again. They realized that the able-bodied men from distant Ice City had also escaped. Hundreds of horses galloped under the night sky. Those who could join the assault team were all great elders and little elders of the three sections. There were only a few so-called genius disciples. After rushing through the night, everyone arrived at the city gate of the Spirit Beast sect. Qin Feng's eyes flickered. He had finally found the location of the Spirit Beast sect. It was time to avenge Qiao Shi and rescue the Qiao family of the Spirit Beast Master clan. Roar, roar. Just as the group steadied themselves outside the gate, the angry roars of a few wild beasts pierced through the silent night sky like surging thunder. Everyone's expression changed. Qiao Hun leaped off his horse and roared. The beasts raised by the Spirit Beast sect are really annoying. Everyone, kill your way in! The beasts were alarmed. The Spirit Beast sect disciples would definitely notice the situation. Qiao Hun didn't wait for them to react and gave the order to attack. Over 100 true Qi experts flew away. They were as nimble and light as 100 swallows in the night sky. The sounds of fighting and killing could already be heard from within the city gate. The beasts' roars were even more ferocious, and the ground was shaking from the movement of their running. Qiao Hun and the other two sect masters didn't move. They stood outside the city gate and observed the situation. Qiao Hun leaped to Qin Feng's side and pressed his shoulder. Stinking brat, if you dare to play tricks on me, I'll crush you into pieces with a light pinch. Don't worry, Sect Master Qiao. The Spirit Beast sect's defenses are weak now. All the experts are on their way to empty Divine Dawn. You three sect masters should attack as well. End this quickly. Qin Feng started to feel nervous. This was Ji Chen's sect master. His strength was unfathomable. Qin Feng was trying to think of a way to escape. Xiao Hun's expression was cold. He suddenly stared at the spirit beast sect's city gate and shouted, "Ling Jinfeng bastard, your grandfather Xiao Hun is here to destroy your sect. Come out and accept your death!" Rumble. Just as he shouted, a muffled thunder seemed to fall from the sky. A huge palm print appeared in the void. It was as if Buddha's 5 fingers mountain had descended to the world. It flew towards them with a violent true qi. "Xiao, you're courting death!" Rumble. The huge palm print landed on the ground, creating a 10-meter-long crater. Xiao Hun and the other 2 sect masters had already left. They stood at the edge of the crater and looked at the sky. 3 black figures shot out like arrows. The moment they landed, the ground beneath their feet cracked. Xiao Hun's expression changed. He shouted, "Xie Qingping? Seeking arts? You 2 old farts are here too? Sure enough, you guys want to fight to the death." Xiao Hun clearly misunderstood Ling Jinfeng and the other 2 sect masters' intentions. Ling Jinfeng said angrily, "Xiao, you've already killed your way into my sect. Why are you still spouting so much nonsense? Tonight, only one of us will die." Both sides didn't understand the situation. They thought that the other party was going to fight to the death. The battle at the city gate was already heated. Blades flashed and swords flashed. Screams of agony could be heard. Chapter 1375. Ling Chong and the other great elders flew out from the spirit beast sect. Ling Chong was about to land when he was so shocked by Xiao Hun's words that he almost fell. Before he could even open his mouth to curse, Ling Jinfeng suddenly shot him a fierce look. "Ling Chong, you actually colluded with Ji Qin in secret. To think that I have always treated you well. Your conscience has been eaten by a dog." Ling Chong looked gloomy as he explained. "Sect leader Ling, don't believe that old fart Xiao Hun's nonsense. I haven't even gotten married or had children, so how could I have any illegitimate children?" The situation was chaotic, and Ling Jinfeng didn't have the time to judge whether Ling Chong was speaking the truth or not. He saw that he and the other 2 sect leaders had distanced themselves from Ling Chong, as if they were guarding against a thief. Ling Chong was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. He sent a palm towards Xiao Hun. "How dare you slander my reputation? I'll fight you to the death!" Rumble. As a great elder of Qi Stage 7, Ling Chong's palm was extremely powerful. His palm had just struck out in the air, and a strong gust of wind blew in all directions. It was as if a mountain was falling from the sky. Qin Feng's expression changed drastically. He didn't even have the chance to escape from this palm. A black shadow shot towards the sky. Qin Feng felt his body lighten. It was Xiao Hun's punch. Before everyone could react, a loud sound came from the sky. The moment the fist and palm collided, it was as if 2 fighter jets had collided in the sky. "A mere Qi Stage 7 dares to behave atrociously in front of me? Get out of my way!" Xiao Hun's angry roar came from the loud sound, as if thunder had fallen from the sky. A figure flickered in the night sky. It was unknown when Xiao Hun had already stood at the peak of the spirit beast sect's city gate. Ling Chong had already landed on the ground in front of the city gate, creating a deep pit. This exchange was completed in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, yet it had completely set off an unprecedented battle between exalted experts. Ling Jinfeng realized that he had misunderstood Ling Chong. He hurriedly sent a palm strike towards the sky, forming a palm print that was 100 meters long in the sky. Xiao Hun's expression turned cold. He didn't even try to dodge. With a tap of his foot, he shot forward like an arrow, punching a hole in the air in front of him. Rumble. When the 2 strongest sect masters clashed, even Bai Xingdou and the other 3 sect masters retreated 100 meters away. Huge explosions rang out one after another. In that simple exchange of blows, a row of the spirit beast sect's walls collapsed. There were no more obstacles inside and outside the courtyard, and the chaotic battle had completely begun. The elders of the 2 sects were engaged in a fierce battle. Blades and swords flashed, and flames soared to the sky. Ling Jinfeng and Xiao Hun were too powerful. In order to avoid harming the disciples of the same sect, the two of them had already flown to the valley thousands of meters away and started fighting. The other four sect leaders were also fighting. Every time they collided, it was as though the mountains were going to collapse and the earth was going to crack. Looking at the intense battlefield, Qin Feng sneered inwardly. This time, his plan to sow discord was more successful than he had imagined. He didn't even need to sow discord. The sacred sects between the two cities had already formed too much enmity. Now, when enemies met, blood would be especially red. The battle was too fierce. There were as many experts on the battlefield as there were clouds in the sky. Even though Qin Feng was at the 5th stage of true qi, he could only be considered to be in the middle to upper echelons of the crowd. Moreover, he couldn't circulate the true qi in his body right now. He hurriedly stepped on his flying sword and rushed inside the Spirit Beast sect. His main mission tonight was to rescue the Spirit Beast Master Qiao clan. Ji Chen, Yu Luoquan, Yun Huishan, you guys really dare to fight to the death? Then Laozi will fulfill your wish today. Release the demonic beasts! Ling Jinfeng's angry roar came from thousands of meters away, but it clearly reached the ears of every disciple in the Spirit Beast sect. For a moment, the roar in the Spirit Beast sect was like thunder. Suddenly, hundreds of wild beasts jumped out of the sect. Black bears, cheetahs, flying birds, demonic apes, elephants, wild boars, bulls. There were many kinds of beasts, and they covered almost all types. Riding on the backs of the beasts was a disciple of the Spirit Beast sect, who controlled the beasts to fight. The disciples of Meteor City were immediately stunned. They had long heard that the Spirit Beast sect was famous for hunting and taming beasts, but this was the first time they were actually fighting against the Spirit Beast sect. Now that this army of beasts had appeared, they had an unstoppable force that swept through a large group of people in an instant. Seeing Ji Qin and a few of the little elders being killed by the demonic beasts, Qiao Hun's eyes turned bloodshot. He grabbed the long blade on his back and leaped into the air, swinging it towards the center of the army of beasts. Rumble! Hundreds of meters of purple blade qi descended from the sky, as if splitting the earth into two halves. The dozens of ferocious beasts under the blade qi immediately exploded into pieces of flesh and blood. Blood flowed like a river. It was incomparably cruel. The battle outside the city was getting more and more intense, but Qin Feng had already sneaked into the inner area of the Spirit Beast sect. There were actually some disciples patrolling and guarding the place. Even though the battle outside was so intense, they didn't come out to help. Who's sneaking around? Come out and accept your death! An angry roar sounded out. Qin Feng jumped into a courtyard, and as soon as he landed, he was surrounded by dozens of guards holding long spears. Qin Feng quickly sized them up. These people were all at the 4th or 5th stage of true qi, and he wasn't confident that he could kill so many of them in one go with his flying sword. Who's the leader here? Qin Feng pretended to be calm and swept his cold gaze across the crowd. A tall and sturdy man stepped forward and shouted coldly. Who are you, brat? Why haven't I seen you before? Could you be the enemy of Meteor City? As the man spoke, he pointed his long spear at Qin Feng. The other dozens of people also took a step back and held on to their long spears, ready to attack at any time. How dare you! I'm the little elder sent by the Spirit Beast sect to hide in Jichen. It's normal that you haven't seen me before. Now that the sacred gate of Meteor City is attacking the Spirit Beast sect at night, sect leader Ling Jinfeng sent me here to check on the situation of the Spirit Beast sect. Quickly bring me over. Qin Feng's words sounded like the truth, and the group of guards were all stunned. The sturdy man leading the group questioned. You say you're a little elder, and we should believe you? When did the Spirit Beast sect have such a young elder like you? Qin Feng looked to be in his early 20s. And the youngest elder of the Spirit Beast sect was in his 40s, which aroused the suspicions of the crowd. But at this moment, a few black shadows flashed on the roof. It turned out that a few elders of Jichen had charged in. Not good, the enemy is here, everyone kill quickly! Qin Feng's reaction was the fastest. As he spoke, a pink light shot out from his body. The speed of the flying sword was too fast, and even the guards couldn't see clearly what was going on. All they saw was a man falling from the roof, and his chest was pierced through. That huge bloody hole sent chills down their spines. "Senior Brother Lingbai, that person is wearing the uniform of Ji Chen's sect!" A guard cried out in alarm. The leader of the guards, Lingbai, was startled and looked at Qin Feng with gratitude. "This really is our little elder. Everyone, follow the little elder and kill the enemy!" Qin Feng ran back and forth in the courtyard, and from time to time, he would take out his flying sword and kill someone. The guards of the Spirit Beast sect completely believed Qin Feng's identity. If Qin Feng was the enemy of Meteor City, why would he kill Ji Chen's disciple? Both sides were evenly matched. Seeing that it was going to be another fierce battle, Qin Feng didn't dare to waste any more time. He pulled Ling Bai to a hidden corner of the house. "Elder Ling, what are you doing?" Ling Bai was fighting fiercely, and he didn't understand Qin Feng's intention. "Don't care about the enemy, quickly bring me to the place where the Spirit Beast Masters are imprisoned. The sect master has ordered that those people must be safely transferred out, or else the Spirit Beast sect will have a hard time developing in the future." Qin Feng's words woke Ling Bai up. Half of the reason why the Spirit Beast sect was able to develop to this extent was because of the Spirit Beast Masters. They helped the Spirit Beast sect to hunt and tame beasts, which made the Spirit Beast sect's power several times stronger. If these people were killed by the enemy, even if the Spirit Beast sect won the battle, it would gradually decline in the future. "Elder Ling, quickly follow me!" After Ling Bai thought through the pros and cons, he hurriedly brought Qin Feng away. The two of them passed through a few small paths and finally arrived in front of a stone prison made of bricks. "Elder Ling, the Spirit Beast Masters are imprisoned in the first underground level. Go in and bring them out, I will stand guard at the door." Qin Feng was very satisfied with Ling Bai's suggestion. Before he left, he even patted Ling Bai's shoulder and praised him. Ling Bai had an excited smile on his face and was immersed in his own fantasies. He felt that he had made a great contribution this time and would definitely be promoted by the sect master after this. The stone prison was dim and damp. There were oil lamps on both sides of the stone walls. There were also disciples guarding here, but they didn't stop or question Qin Feng. They stood there like stone pillars. Roar, roar! Just as Qin Feng walked to the first underground level, a wild beast's roar came from inside. The roar sounded a little angry and painful. The beasts were used to freedom, but they were imprisoned in this stone prison that never saw the light of day. Naturally, they wouldn't surrender. The underground level of this stone prison was very large and was divided into two areas. The path on the left was filled with the roar of beasts. It was probably where the beasts were imprisoned. The right was quieter, and there was a familiar aura. Qin Feng hurried to the right. "Everyone, be careful! The disciples of Spirit Beast sect are here!" As soon as Qin Feng entered, he heard the sound of iron chains colliding. This place was divided into dozens of cells, and each cell held 3 to 5 men and women. They mistakenly thought Qin Feng was a disciple of Spirit Beast sect. They all glared at Qin Feng with angry and murderous eyes. "There are sounds of fierce fighting outside. I think someone is attacking Spirit Beast sect. Are you here to ask for our help? Don't even think about it. We won't go out. Bastard, get out of here. Do you believe I won't control a demonic beast to bite you to death?" The people imprisoned here were indeed from the Qiao family. Their clothes were tattered, and their bodies were covered with blood stains. Their hair was messy, and their skin was sallow. It was obvious that they had been tortured by Spirit Beast sect for years. Qin Feng swept his eyes over the people in the cell. His eyes were wet. Every one of them was Qiao Shishi's family. Seeing them being treated so cruelly, Qin Feng felt very upset. The shouting and cursing gradually quieted down. These Spirit Beast Masters realized something was wrong. Chapter 1376. "Hey! What are you doing here?" Someone in the cell closest to Qin Feng asked. The man was in his early 50s and looked similar to Qiao Shishi. Qin Feng asked agitatedly, Who are you to Qiao Shishi?" As soon as he said this, The noisy cell suddenly became so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. The man's expression changed drastically. The men and women in the other cells also became agitated. They all rushed to the cell door and grabbed the iron bars tightly while glaring at Qin Feng. What did you do to Shishir? You've also captured Shishir? I'm going to kill you! Let me out now! The middle-aged man who asked the question suddenly seemed to have gone crazy. He pulled the iron bars on the cell door with all his might. However, no matter how hard he tried, the iron bars did not respond at all. Don't be anxious. I'm not a disciple of the Spirit Beast sect. I'm Shishir's boyfriend. Qin Feng realized that he was misunderstood and quickly revealed his identity. The people who were going crazy were stunned again. They looked at Qin Feng in disbelief. They did not know whether this person was telling the truth or not. Don't try to lie to me. You can't be Shishir's boyfriend because Shishir is not even in this land. The man was stunned for a moment, and suddenly came to his senses. Qin Feng had already confirmed that the people in prison here were members of the Qiao family. He quickly explained, I really am Shishir's boyfriend. I came to the Divine Land from the outside world to save you guys. Not long ago, the formation to enter and exit the Forbidden Land was loosened. The Spirit Beast sect took Xiao Gong's second uncle out. Shishir and I saved Xiao Gong. When I found out that you guys were imprisoned here, I rushed over. Qin Feng's words stunned everyone. They felt like they were dreaming. However, after a while, the dream was still there. Everyone woke up one after another. This was not a dream. This was real. The man was so excited that his body trembled. When he looked at Qin Feng, his expression suddenly softened. He looked at Qin Feng as if he was looking at his own son. He said, what's your name? I'm your father-in-law. I'm Shishir's father, Teacher Qiao. Qin Feng was shocked. He rushed to Teacher Qiao and grabbed his hand. He said, Father-in-law, I'm Qin Feng. Don't worry. I'll get you guys out now. Qin Feng had already retreated a few steps. The Qiao family members were still in a daze. When they were first captured, Shishir was only a few years old. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, she already had a boyfriend? Furthermore, Shishir's boyfriend was too powerful. He actually entered a hopeless situation from the outside world and even killed his way into the Spirit Beast sect. Could it be that the sounds of intense fighting outside were the helpers that Qin Feng brought? Before everyone could figure out what was going on, they heard a loud explosion. In an instant, a pink light flashed, and the prison door that Xiao Shi and the others were locked in suddenly collapsed to the ground. Everyone was dumbfounded once more. Swish, swish, swish. For a moment, the sound of swords rang out in the cell. No matter how hard the iron door of the prison cell was, it could not block the sharpness of the starry sky flying sword. The pink light flickered incessantly, and in the blink of an eye, more than a dozen prison doors were pierced through. Everyone ran out, but they stared blankly at their surroundings. Until now, they had not completely recovered from their shock. Free? Are we really free? Master Qiao asked uncertainly. This was also the question in the hearts of all the Qiao family members. They had been locked in this prison cell for more than 20 years, and every day, they dreamed of escaping. Now that they were really out, they found it hard to accept. Father-in-law, we are not completely free yet. Right now, the 3 sacred gates of Distant Ice City and the 3 sacred gates of Meteor City are fighting fiercely. My plan is to wait for both sides to suffer and then reap the benefits. Qin Feng quickly explained the current situation and his plan. Master Qiao stared at him with an excited expression. For the past 20 years, Master Qiao had missed his daughter day and night, and was worried about her safety. Now that he saw his son-in-law, Master Qiao was 100% satisfied. He knew that his daughter would be very happy with Qin Feng in the future. Even if he died now, he could die in peace. Good son-in-law, you know the situation outside better than us. Right now you call the shots, and everyone will listen to your orders. Master Qiao shouted. The Qiao family members woke up one after another. They had already understood the current situation, and they unanimously surrounded Qin Feng. "Grandson-in-law, I am Shishi's grandfather. I am very satisfied with you, young man. I am relieved that Shishi is with you." "Oh, right, are Shishi and Xiao Gong well? Didn't they come with you?" "There are many experts in the Spirit Beast sect. It won't be easy for us to defeat them, but don't be afraid. Our Qiao family can control the minds of the beasts. Now that everyone is free, we can control the beasts to help you fight." Everyone talked at once, and a rare smile appeared on their faces. Qin Feng answered everyone's questions one by one and explained the plan in detail. The Qiao family members immediately agreed. Their lives were saved by Qin Feng, and Qin Feng was Shishi's boyfriend. They had long treated Qin Feng as family. On this side, Qin Feng led everyone and waited for an opportunity to move. The battle outside was at its most intense. After a fierce battle, both sides suffered heavy casualties. There were less than 30 people who could continue fighting. The sect masters of the 6 major sects were also injured. Xiao Hun and Ling Jinfeng were standing on top of a building 100 meters apart. Xiao Hun's abdomen was hit by Ling Jinfeng's palm, and the true qi in his body was already chaotic. Now, he could only use 50% of his strength. Ling Jinfeng wasn't any better. One of his arms was directly cut off by Xiao Hun, and it was still bleeding. "Xiao Hun, is this the result you want? You want to take over my Spirit Beast sect's land with that little strength of yours? Even if I die in battle, I will drag you down with me." Every time Ling Jinfeng saw that severed arm, he would fly into a rage. Until now, he still thought that Xiao Hun wanted to fight to the death. Xiao Hun had suffered internal injuries, and he already felt that today was a bad day. He was even angrier than Ling Jinfeng. If it wasn't for the Spirit Beast sect wanting to fight to the death, how could he be forced to this point? "You old fart, you still refuse to admit it? I will kill you with one slash!" Xiao Hun leaped up again. Even though he only had half of his strength left, his speed was still astonishing. In just a few breaths, he had already arrived above Ling Jinfeng's head. The large blade in his hand did not have any fancy moves, and he swung it down. Boom! The air in front of him instantly exploded. This slash was comparable to the full power of a true Qi Stage 6 revered martial artist. Ling Jinfeng's expression changed greatly. His right arm was severed, and he had no choice but to send out his left palm. However, the aura of the palm wind was obviously weakened by half, but it still condensed into a huge palm print in the air. 2 violent waves of true Qi collided in the air, and it was as if thunder had exploded, causing the entire valley to shake. The blade Qi penetrated the palm print and landed on Ling Jinfeng's chest, leaving behind a long blade wound. Xiao Hun didn't have it any better. After being hit by the palm print, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood in the air. This was a battle where both sides were injured. Both sides were evenly matched, and it was either you die or I live. The 2 of them fell to the ground, and for a while, they couldn't even get up. On the other side of the battlefield, there were fewer and fewer people left standing on the ground. More than half of the great elders of the 6 major sects had died, and the remaining few people were hanging on with their last breath. The intense battle gradually subsided, and the earth quaking and mountains shaking no longer appeared. From the top of the mountain to the entrance of the Spirit Beast sect, the road that was a few hundred meters long was littered with corpses. Among them, there was no lack of beasts who had died tragically, and it was a scene of blood flowing like a river. "Xiao Hun, if you surrender now, I can spare your life." After a long time, Ling Jinfeng's angry roar came from a huge pit, but his voice was clearly weaker than before. Xiao Hun laughed out loud. "Ha ha! You want me to surrender? Dream on, it's not certain who will die yet." Xiao Hun and Ling Jinfeng were already strong arrows. They preserved their last bit of true qi and prepared to deal a killing blow. No one dared to act rashly. This sneak attack was very important, and a single mistake would mean death. The 2 of them turned from fighting to bickering. They didn't even know each other's exact location, but judging from the sounds, they were less than 50 meters apart. The sounds of fighting in the distance had completely stopped. Fairy Fan and the other 3 sect masters were still alive, and their conditions were the same as Qiao Hun and Ling Jinfeng. All of them were seriously injured. Qiao, I really don't understand. Why do you insist on fighting to the death? Now that both sides are injured, do you think you can still take down Distant Ice City? Once the news spreads, the sacred sects from the other cities will immediately rush over, and you, Ji Chen, and my spirit beast sect will be finished. Ling Jinfeng was still feeling depressed, and he felt that Qiao Hun's brain must have been flooded with water. Qiao Hun was furious. He couldn't be bothered to bicker with Ling Jinfeng, but now was the time to bicker. Ling Jinfeng, the battle has already reached this stage. Why the fuck are you still putting on an act? I have always wanted to fight the battle with experts, but it was your spirit beast sect who insisted on fighting to the death. Now do you know how powerful I, Ji Chen, am? Do you really think I am afraid of you? Ling Jinfeng was taken aback. It was fine if Qiao Hun didn't admit it, but now that things had reached this stage, there was no need for him to lie. You really didn't intend to fight to the death? Then how do you explain attacking my spirit beast sect in the middle of the night? Ling Jinfeng roared angrily. Qiao Hun was even angrier. Isn't this because of you? Your spirit beast sect disciples have already tipped me off, saying that you will lead a large force to attack me, Ji Chen, tonight, so I beat you at your own game, and attacked your spirit beast sect base. Just as Qiao Hun finished speaking, his expression suddenly changed. He had already realized that something was wrong. Didn't Ling Chang's illegitimate son say that spirit beast sect would launch a sneak attack on Ji Chen tonight? But they were all guarding spirit beast sect? Ling Jinfeng's expression also changed. When did he say that he was going to attack Ji Chen at night? It was obvious that someone was playing tricks in the dark. Qiao Hun, what is the name of the spirit beast sect disciple you mentioned? Ling Jinfeng, do you have a plan to attack me, Ji Chen, tonight? Qiao Hun and Ling Jinfeng asked almost at the same time, but before they could answer each other, they heard the cry of a bird coming from the sky. A gigantic spirit bird soared high up in the sky. Its golden feathers were like burning flames in the night sky. Chapter 1377. The flaming golden eagle let out a long cry. Its speed was so fast that it was like a will-o'-the-wisp flashing in the sky. Ling Jinfeng and Qiao Hun were so angry that their eyeballs widened. They felt as disgusted as if they had eaten a fly. As the sect masters with the highest status in the 2 cities, they didn't expect to be deceived by a mere county magistrate. The elders, who were prepared to fight, had already given up on the idea of fighting. Their gazes swept toward the sky in unison. Their gazes followed the flaming golden condor, and their faces were ferocious. They wished they could tear Qin Feng into pieces. Ayaya, we've all fallen for that brat's trick. Let's temporarily form an alliance and kill that brat first. Qiao Hun was so angry that he screamed. His roar was like thunder. Ling Jinfeng's face darkened and he had already sent a palm strike towards the sky. Humph! A mere ant is just a matter of a palm strike. Instantly, a huge palm print appeared in the air. Ling Jinfeng was indeed the sect master of the spirit beast sect. Even though he was seriously injured, his palm strike caused the air to explode. The palm print was so fast that it shot out like an arrow and directly hit the flaming golden eagle. Chirp! The golden eagle's scream came from the sky and a large amount of its golden feathers fell off. A ray of pink light flashed and disappeared. Qin Feng had already escaped on his flying sword, but his heart was filled with shock. If the flaming golden eagle hadn't used its body to block Ling Jinfeng's palm strike, his life would have been in danger. Qin Feng couldn't figure out Ling Jinfeng's realm, but his palm strike was comparable to the full power of a true Qi Stage 6 revered martial artist. The flaming golden eagle's wings seemed to be seriously injured and it didn't even have the ability to fly. It fell from a height of 100 meters. Buzz! A strange energy wave spread out. Seeing the golden eagle that was about to fall to the ground suddenly disappear, Qiao Hun and the rest were astonished. They were still waiting for the loud sound when it landed, but they didn't hear anything for a long time. That brat isn't dead yet, he actually has a flying sword! Ling Jinfeng suddenly exclaimed. Qiao Hun's expression instantly changed. Everyone looked towards the night sky and saw a ray of pink light appearing and disappearing. Wasn't it a pink flying sword? Who exactly is this brat? He actually got a rare piece of pink equipment? Qiao Hun was shocked. He couldn't understand Qin Feng anymore. Ling Zhenfeng did not care so much. His eyes glowed as he stared at the flying sword. Suddenly, he sent out 2 more palm strikes. No matter who he is, he will definitely die today. Rumble. The 2 palms missed and landed on 2 mountain peaks, causing half of them to collapse. Ling Zhenfeng did not put Qin Feng in his eyes at all. He had already noticed that Qin Feng's body did not have any innate qi fluctuations. Even if Ling Zhenfeng was seriously injured, he had the confidence to kill an ant like Qin Feng with 1 palm. Qiao Hun quickly regained his senses. He raised his broadsword and chased after Qin Feng. Now that everyone had discovered Qin Feng's pink flying sword, they all wanted to take it for themselves. Qiao Yi hadn't died yet. He barely managed to sit on the ground. When he saw the pink flying sword flashing in the sky, his eyes were filled with shock. This flying sword was very similar to the flying sword used by the number 1 in the secular world, Qin Feng. Rumble. The battle, which had just calmed down, resumed once again. Qiao Hun was already high up in the sky. His saber slashed through the air, but it left a 100-meter-long crack in the ground. Qin Feng could not circulate his innate qi, so he could only use the flying sword to escape. The ground behind him kept cracking. The violent innate qi was rapidly approaching, making him anxious. You with the surname Qiao, you dared to trick me! I want you to die a horrible death! Qiao Hun already knew that he had been deceived by Qin Feng. He was furious, but as soon as he shouted, he felt that something was wrong. His surname was also Qiao. Rumble. However, Qin Feng casually shot out several fireballs. The destructive fire was ignited by the flaming wolf's demon core and did not require innate qi to activate. Qiao Hun acted as if he did not see it, and rushed towards the fireballs. In the eyes of these innate qi experts, fire and ice were easy to deal with. These moves looked good, but they did not have much lethality. However, when the destructive fire landed on Qiao Hun's body, his expression suddenly changed. This fire was more than 10 times stronger than the raging fire of innate qi. It was almost at the level of the 10,000 beasts' true fire. The fire instantly ignited Qiao Hun's body, and it looked as if it wanted to burn everything. Qiao Hun threw his broadsword to the side and fell to the ground, rolling back and forth in pain. The crowd was stunned and looked at the scene in disbelief. That brat who did not even have innate qi actually defeated sect leader Qiao Hun? Soon, the elders of Jichen came to their senses and hurriedly chased after Qin Feng. Qiao Ye's expression became more and more terrified. The fire of destruction was also very familiar. Wasn't it the fire that Qin Feng used in the secular world? However, this person didn't look like Qin Feng at all. Qiao Yi really couldn't figure it out. Rumble. Loud noises sounded in the distant sky. A new round of battle had begun. More than 10 elders of Jichen chased after Qin Feng. The elder of Spirit Beast sect also came to his senses. Just as he was about to attack, he was shocked and looked in the direction of Spirit Beast sect. A wild beast's roar came from inside. More than 10 spirit birds flew in the sky, and the ground was covered with a black mass of ferocious beasts. The ground shook violently from their running. Ling Zhenfeng, what's going on? Qiao Hun had already extinguished the fire and stared at Ling Zhenfeng with bloodshot eyes. Ling Zhenfeng and the elders of Spirit Beast sect were dumbfounded. They also did not understand the situation. A black shadow flashed and Ling Zhenfeng had already landed in front of the crowd. He stared at the beasts that were rushing over and roared. Teacher Qiao? How did you guys come out? You guys came at the right time. Spirit Beast sect has encountered a great enemy. Help me kill that brat on the flying sword first. Ling Zhenfeng did not know the situation and naively stood on the ground and gave orders. The army of beasts was getting closer and closer. Teacher Qiao was riding on a 3-headed ice wolf and was the first to pounce in front of Ling Zhenfeng. Whoosh! He did not waste any time, and controlled the three-headed ice wolf to leap into the air. The ice wolf opened its mouth and shot numerous ice at Ling Jinfeng. The ice was like a sharp arrow under the night sky and instantly froze Ling Jinfeng on the spot. Teacher Qiao's figure had already arrived. He pulled out a long sword from his waist and swung it down. Rumble! Before the sword light landed, the ice on Ling Jinfeng's body suddenly exploded. This old man's strength was unfathomable. Even after losing an arm and messing up his true qi, he could still be so violent. The scattered icicles became sharp blades. Teacher Qiao was caught off guard and a few bloody holes were pierced through his thighs and arms. The Qiao clan members who rushed over roared in anger. Some people saved Teacher Qiao and even more people controlled the beasts to launch a fierce attack. Roar, roar, roar! The beasts that came out to battle this time were all demonic beasts. There were even a few spirit beasts among them. The roars of the beasts were earth-shattering. Instantly, the sky was filled with flames and ice. There were even a few spirit beasts that could release lightning. No matter how strong Ling Jinfeng was, he was still scared off by this ferocious attack. He fled all the way to an empty valley thousands of meters away, and before those stunned little elders could figure out the situation, they had already died miserably under this wave of ferocious attacks. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The people who managed to survive were all truly powerful paragons. The sect leaders of the 6 great system-allocated sects gathered together, and there were more than 20 great sect elders around them. The number of casualties in the battle had been disastrous. The genius disciples had long since died like cannon fodder, and even the young sect elders had a hard time surviving. Among the remaining 20 people, the weakest was at the 6th level of true qi. The 6 sect masters had even stepped into the 8th level of true qi. However, they were all seriously injured. It was already rare for them to be able to use even half of their power. Surnamed Ling, I am really going to die because of you. Xiao Han was so angry that he roared towards the sky. Even Bai Xingdou and Fairy Fan stared at Ling Jinfeng with some resentment. In the face of everyone's reprimand, Ling Jinfeng could not even retort. He did not expect the sudden change in the Spirit Beast sect. What's the use of saying all this now? Let's all work together and exterminate this group of beasts, Ling Jinfeng shouted. Although he said that, everyone's eyes were filled with panic. That was an army of over 100 magical beasts and spirit beasts. If everyone was in peak condition, there was no need to be afraid. But now, it was hard to say. I remember now. That kid is Qin Feng, the #1 martial artist in the secular world, Qin Feng. Xiao Yi, who had been silent, suddenly exclaimed. Everyone was shocked. They were not unfamiliar with this Qin Feng's name. Currently, he was being chased by all the sacred sects in the 8 major cities of the Divine Continent. What? He is Qin Feng? Why didn't you say it before? Did you do it on purpose? Isn't this kid in the outside world? How did he enter the Divine Continent? After Qin Feng's identity was exposed, everyone even forgot about the army of beasts that was surging towards them. Countless doubts arose in their hearts. Xiao Yi had a bitter expression. Feeling the killing intent shooting towards him from all directions, he hurriedly said, This kid changed his appearance. I couldn't recognize him at all. It was also the flying sword and flame that he used that made me suspicious. In addition to the betrayal of the Spirit Beast sect's Spirit Beast masters, I concluded that the kid was Qin Feng. He also controlled a group of beasts in the secular world. After Qiao Yi explained the situation, everyone was extremely shocked. It seemed like Qin Feng really came. But how did he enter the Divine Continent? This kid was truly savage. He dared to enter the Extinction sect alone and start a massacre. Wasn't he a revered martial artist at the 5th level of true qi? Why was there no true qi in his body? Questions surged in their minds, but they had no time to think about it. The army of over 100 beasts had already advanced, and the dozen or so spirit birds in the sky all spat out a rain of flames. Rumble! Ling Jinfeng's palm instantly condensed into a huge palm print. 3 spirit birds were directly sent flying, and half of the sky's flames were extinguished. Don't think about it. Kill these people first! Ling Jinfeng's angry roar woke everyone up. More than 20 revered martial artists immediately launched a counterattack. They were currently heavily injured, so their first move was a killing move. That wave of attack was incomparably ferocious, and actually suppressed the army of beasts. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. High up in the sky, Qin Feng turned into a pink light that flickered endlessly. He already knew that his identity was exposed. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Not a single one of these people could be left alive. Qin Feng wanted to exterminate them all. Chapter 1378. Rumble. Suddenly, loud noises came from Qin Feng's body. Since his identity had been exposed, there was no need for him to hide anymore. He directly unleashed the system's trump card. A black shadow descended from the night sky. Golden Fur Lion King's golden hair danced wildly in the wind. As soon as he appeared, the Dragon Slayer saber in his hand struck down. The violent vital energy shocked the crowd. Rumble! Another 6 clouds of black fog appeared out of thin air. The golden ghost head talisman of the verdant sex 5 kings was activated. The 5 clouds of black fog floated over like ghosts, and shrouded Xiao Han and the others. The crowd was instantly thrown into chaos. The already dark night was obscured by the aura of corpses. What the hell is this? I can't see anything. Who the hell slashed me? Go to hell! Sunhee, are you crazy? I'm Ling Chong. Loud noises came from the crowd. The verdant sex 5 kings and one of the verdant sex 5 kings were already mixed in the crowd. Their attacks could not kill these venerables, but it made them kill each other. No one could see clearly in the black fog. Qin Feng had already asked Xiao Shi and the others to retreat to the side and watch the fight quietly. Something's wrong! This black fog only interferes with our vision. There are no enemies nearby. Everyone, stop! Xiao Han quickly discovered the abnormality. The sounds of the fierce fight quickly stopped, but there were a few more corpses on the ground. The crowd was enraged. Qin Feng, I'm going to kill you! Xiao Han was furious. He raised his saber and leaped into the sky. Ling Jinfeng also jumped out of the black fog and shouted to the crowd. Everyone, come out! The black fog can confuse one's mind. Under the night sky, more than 20 black shadows flickered continuously. They did not dare to stop. The black fog seemed to have grown eyes and was following them. Xiao Han had already arrived in front of Qin Feng. He slashed down with his saber, drawing out 100-meter-long purple saber chi. However, Qin Feng did not need to counterattack. With a flash of golden light, the Golden Fur Lion King's violent saber slashed down. Rumble! The moment the two saber chi collided, it was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. The Golden Fur Lion King was sent flying. Xiao Hun's body was also sent flying, but he quickly steadied himself and leaped into the sky. Swoosh! There was a flash of pink light, and the cosmic flying sword pierced towards Qin Feng. It was as fast as lightning, but Xiao Han easily dodged it. Then, he slashed down with his saber, sending Qin Feng flying to the ground. Oh no, Qin Feng is injured! Someone from the Qiao clan shouted. Xiao Shi's expression changed drastically. He immediately controlled the 3 ice waves to fly over, but before they could reach him, several icicles fell from the sky. Stab, stab, stab. The icicles fell like sharp arrows, and the surrounding air suddenly dropped. The ground was covered with a layer of ice, as if they had fallen into a world of ice and snow. Xiao Han sprinted across the icy ground, but his speed was noticeably slower. He ignored Xiao Shi, who was rushing towards him, and suddenly leaped into the air, slashing his sword towards Qin Feng, who was in the deep crater. Rumble! The saber chi extended, creating a 100-meter-long crack in the ground. However, an ice wall suddenly condensed above the deep pit. Cracks appeared on the ice wall and spread rapidly. In just a few breaths, the entire ice wall suddenly exploded. Brat, let's see how long your life is! Xiao Han swung his blade again. Xiao sure didn't even have time to control the 3 ice wolves to spit out ice. The saber chi condensed into a 100-meter-long solid saber. Explosions rang out incessantly, and many people stopped their attacks to look over. The elders and sect leaders of the holy sects smiled coldly, and the Qiao clan was so scared that their faces turned pale. Rumble! A loud explosion rang out, and the commotion was shocking. It didn't seem like the aura of Qiao Hun's slash at all. In the dark of the night, there was a sudden explosion of sparks, as beautiful as fireworks. Qiao Hun's figure had long since disappeared, reduced to flesh and blood in the explosion. A pink light shot out from the deep crater, flickering under the night sky. This unforeseen event happened too quickly, so much so that everyone was still unclear about the situation. Was Qin Feng dead or not? Where did sect leader Qiao Hun go? No good, that brat isn't dead. He brought the Huaxia secular world's firearms to the Despair Gate. Xiao Ye's scream rang out in the silent night. The expressions of the crowd changed drastically. They knew very well what firearms in the Huaxia secular world represented. In the Great War years ago, it was firearms that drove them back to the Despair Gate. Rumble! As if in response to Xiao Ye's speculation, a loud explosion rang out, as if the sky was filled with muffled thunder. A ball of fire flickered in the night sky, and several fire cloud cannonballs flew over, like shooting stars falling from the heavens. Rumble! The cannonballs landed on the ground, and the whole valley shook. There were a few elders in the crowd who were still in a daze, but in the next moment, they were blasted into smithereens. The sect leaders of the 5 major sects had already dodged, but they were also sent flying by the aftershock of the explosion. They didn't know what kind of firearms it was, but they were deeply shocked. The power of this weapon was comparable to an all-out attack from a true Qi Stage 6 martial artist. Loud explosions rang out one after another, and it was as if there was an earthquake in the vicinity of Spirit Beast sect. A few mountain peaks collapsed, and even the beasts were shocked. Their roars shook the heavens, rising and falling one after another. The Qiao family looked at the sky in shock, and they could vaguely see Qin Feng's figure. He stood on the starry sky flying sword and hovered in midair. He wore a set of domineering battle armor the color of the moon, but he carried a fiery red cannon on his shoulder. The few powerful cannonballs just now were fired from this cannon. The flying sword suddenly moved, and its speed was as fast as a shooting star. Qin Feng chased after Qiao Yi and the others who were escaping. He aimed the cannon barrel and fired 3 shots without hesitation. It was as if the moment the shots were fired, a deep pit appeared on the ground. Qiao Yi, Fan Yu, and Bai Qi were already heavily injured. Under the fierce attack of the cannonball, the 3 of them had no chance of survival. They didn't even have time to dodge, and could only watch as their bodies were blasted into pieces. On the other side were the few great elders of Meteor City who were escaping. Unknowingly, Qin Feng was already hovering above their heads. He fired the fire cloud cannon, and in the blink of an eye, 3 true Qi Stage 6 martial artists had fallen. The whole valley was riddled with holes, and it was as if a war had broken out. Qin Feng's eyes flickered with determination. He knew that this was only the beginning. That brat's weapon is too powerful. We must think of a way to eliminate him, or else we'll all die. Looking at the great elders falling behind them, Ling Jinfeng and the other 4 felt fear in their hearts. In this battle, all the elders and disciples of the 6 major sacred gates had been eliminated, and even Xiao Hun had been killed. Only the 5 sect leaders were left to hold on. Ling Jinfeng's words received the approval of the other 4 sect leaders. They suddenly stopped and took the initiative to charge towards Qin Feng. The 5 of them were like 5 cheetahs shooting over. Even though they were heavily injured, their speed was still frighteningly fast. In just a few breaths, Ling Jinfeng was already the first to strike with his palm. Instantly, a palm print enveloped the sky. A fire cloud cannon descended and instantly destroyed his palm print. The moment the cannon hit the ground, the plains within 100 meters were blasted into a deep pit. Ling Jinfeng fell from the sky and directly fainted. Rumble! It was Ling Jinfeng's attack that delayed some time, and the other 4 sect leaders attacked at the same time. Yuluochuan's fairy fan's horsetail whisk shook, and numerous sword rays enveloped the void. Bai Xingdo's sword pierced through the air, and a 100-meter-long sword ray condensed in midair. Bai Tsang and Xie Qingping struck with their palms, and the Red Sun sect's seeking art also struck with his sword. The attacks of these 4 clashed in the void, and instantly, there was a violent explosion. It was a spectacular scene, as if the end of the world was coming. The Qiao clan's expressions became serious again. Teacher Qiao had already controlled the 3 ice waves to support, but there was another layer of ice wall in the void. It was not formed by the 3 ice waves, but by the extreme ice released by Qin Feng using the glacial snow mastiff's demon core. Rumble! Such a tough layer of ice was shattered in an instant, and a surging attack instantly enveloped Qin Feng. He quickly dodged on his flying sword, and at the same time, activated the super defensive ability of the Moon God armor. The flying sword was still a step too slow, and a loud sound exploded around him. The violent Truchi seemed to be able to destroy the heaven and earth, and instantly knocked Qin Feng to the empty ground 100 meters away. This attack was extremely fierce. After Qin Feng fell to the ground, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. The Moon God armor also dimmed, and it was almost shattered. "That kid is injured, everyone, go!" Bai Xingdo roared angrily, and took the lead to fly. The other 3 sect leaders also followed closely behind, like 4 ghosts in the night. The Qiao clan also rushed towards Qin Feng. The group of beasts roared crazily, but they were still a step too slow. Before they could reach Qin Feng, they saw 4 black figures appear above Qin Feng's head. Bai Xingdo, Lady Fan, Seeking Art, and Xie Qingping. The 4 of them hovered in midair, each standing in a direction in the north, south, east, and west. A cold smile appeared on their faces, and their hands had already landed, as if they were going to kill Qin Feng in the next second. The sword light and palm wind condensed in midair, and the sound of wind breaking could be heard incessantly. Qin Feng lay in the deep pit, and it was difficult for him to even stand up. Seeing the surging attack land on his head, there was suddenly a loud sound, and a jet-black tank appeared out of nowhere. It was very inconspicuous in the night, and even ignored by the 4 sect leaders. The ferocious attack landed on the black dragon tank. The tank was made of some unknown material, and a series of loud clanging sounds could be heard from its surface, but it was not affected at all. Inside the tank, Qin Feng sat on the control panel. There were 4 dots on the screen, which represented Bai Xingdo and the other 3. Qin Feng's heart was burning with rage, and he immediately bought 100,000 hedonist points worth of artillery shells. The main artillery was already aimed at Bai Xingdo, and a dozen or so artillery shells appeared around the tank. "Attack!" Qin Feng pressed the launch button, and the dozen or so artillery shells fired at the same time. Instantly, the pitch-black night sky was lit up as if it was daytime. The artillery shells filled the sky, and the loud sound was endless. Bai Xingdo and the other 3 were shocked. They felt an unprecedented aura of death shrouding them, and they did not even have the chance to react before they exploded into flowers of blood in the air. The beast army that was rushing over was suddenly stunned, and they stopped 100 meters away from the tank, not daring to go any closer. The tank was too powerful, and in the blink of an eye, it killed 4 Truchi Stage 8 powerhouses. Even though the 4 of them were heavily injured, they were not that easy to kill. Boom! Rumble! Chapter 1379. 10,000 hedonist points worth of artillery shells were used up, and the entire spirit beast sect was razed to the ground. When Qin Feng put away the black dragon tank and looked around, he couldn't recognize this area anymore. The disciples, elders, and even sect masters of the 6 major sects were all killed. Ling Jinfeng, however, was knocked unconscious by the aftermath of the fire cloud cannon and escaped. Teacher Qiao and the others had already rushed to Qin Feng's side. They hadn't recovered from the bombardment, and stared at Qin Feng in shock. Everyone looked around again, but they didn't see the mighty tank. They really didn't know where the tank came from. Qin Feng, are you alright? Teacher Qiao recovered with great difficulty and hurriedly checked on Qin Feng's injuries. The combined attack of the four sect masters wasn't simple. Even with the protection of the moon god armor, Qin Feng was still riddled with injuries. Teacher Qiao felt uncomfortable when he saw this. He took out a few pills and gave them to Qin Feng, but Qin Feng didn't take them. He didn't lack pills, and they were of a much higher grade than Teacher Qiao's pills. Father-in-law, Ling Jinfeng isn't dead yet. I'll go kill him. Qin Feng took a few deep breaths and forced himself to kill Ling Jinfeng. These people all knew his identity, so Qin Feng couldn't leave a single one alive. Teacher Qiao pulled Qin Feng to sit on the ground and let him recuperate. The Qiao family members had already gone to Ling Jinfeng's side. For the past 20 years, the Spirit Beast sect had abused them like slaves. They lost their freedom and were forced to hunt and tame beasts. 20 years of anger exploded at this moment. Over 100 people surrounded Ling Jinfeng and stomped on him. After they vented their anger, the beasts also rushed over and tore at them. Qin Feng felt that he was already very cruel to his enemies. But when he saw Ling Jinfeng's fate, he realized how merciful he was. 10 minutes later, Ling Jinfeng died outside the Spirit Beast sect. His body was torn into pieces by the beasts, and it was horrifying to look at. The Qiao family members had already returned to Qin Feng's side. Their faces revealed joy from the bottom of their hearts. Over 20 years of life as slaves had completely ended at this moment. It was a feeling of being reborn. Qin Feng, thank you for saving the lives of the Qiao family. Teacher Qiao suddenly knelt down on one knee, and the Qiao family members behind him all knelt down to worship Qin Feng. Qin Feng jumped in fright and hurriedly went to support Teacher Qiao. Father-in-law, you're cutting my lifespan short. Everyone, please get up. We're a family, so don't stand on ceremony with me. However, the crowd did not get up. They were clear about public and private affairs. Although Qin Feng was their junior this time, Qin Feng risked his life to kill his way into the Spirit Beast sect from the outside world and saved everyone's freedom. This matter moved the Qiao family very much, so they had to kneel and pay their respects. Seeing that no one was willing to get up, Qin Feng was a little anxious. His eyes lit up and he hurriedly said, "That's right, I'm now the new Beast King. I'll treat it as everyone worshipping the Beast King." Qin Feng found an excuse for himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to endure these elders kneeling to him. Qiao Shi and the others were shocked, and they stared at him in disbelief. Qin Feng, why you're really the new Beast King? Qiao Shi's voice was trembling. Father-in-law, I found my father, Beast King Gu Qin, in Devil Beast Mountain in China's secular world. He has already passed the title of Beast King to me. Shi and second uncle Qiao Gong also know about this. I won't lie to you. Everyone naturally believed Qin Feng's words. However, this news came too suddenly, and the Qiao family was a little shocked. The crowd gradually came to their senses, and the joy on their faces grew. Qin Feng was actually the new Beast King? They had been very optimistic about Qin Feng before. Qiao family, listen up! Worship Qin Feng as the Beast King! After Qiao Shi's order, everyone kowtowed. Qin Feng didn't stop them. He knew that the Qiao family's Spirit Beast Master clan had been around for hundreds of years. Everyone was born with the responsibility of guarding the Beast King. This was their belief, and Qin Feng respected this belief. Qiao family, listen up! In the name of the Beast King, I order you to rise! After everyone finished kowtowing, Qin Feng's voice was like a bell. The Qiao family stood up one after another. Their faces were still filled with joy. This was really double happiness. Not only did they obtain freedom, but they also found a new Beast King. It felt like a dream. However, Qin Feng's expression was still a little grave. Although they had won this battle, he knew that there were still many tough battles waiting for them. Lord Beast King, what's on your mind? Can you tell us so that we can share your burden? Qiao Shi cupped his fists respectfully toward Qin Feng. Qin Feng smiled and said, Father-in-law, don't call me Beast King. Just call me Qin Feng. Now that the main forces of Meteor City and Distant Ice City's 6 major sacred gates have been destroyed, there are still many scattered forces. We have to stabilize these 2 cities as soon as possible. Otherwise, the sacred gates of the other cities will definitely come to snatch them. Qin Feng voiced out his worries, and the Qiao family became solemn. Qiao Shishir nodded and said, "Son-in-law Qin Feng, you are right. Right now, the most important thing is to stabilize the 2 cities as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will end up like those people." Qiao Shishir's grandfather stood up and said, "Qin Feng, you've been our leader for a long time. You know the situation better than anyone else. We, the Qiao family, are willing to protect you with our lives. Tell us what to do next." Qiao Shishir's grandfather stood up and said, "Qin Feng, you've been our leader for a long time. You understand the situation better than anyone else." "Yes. Lord Beast King, please give us the order." There were more than 100 people in the Qiao family. Most of them were at the 2nd or 3rd stage of true Qi, and the strongest was only at the 4th stage of true Qi. They did not focus on cultivation in the first place, but on their outstanding beast-taming skills. Qin Feng looked at the distant ice city under the night sky, and his eyes flickered. He thought for a moment and said, "Father-in-law, divide everyone into 3 groups. One group will be responsible for subduing the remaining forces of the 3 sacred gates in Distant Ice City, the second group will subdue Meteor City, and the last group will settle the poor people in the 2 cities." No one objected to Qin Feng's order. In this battle, the Qiao family and the Beast clan had suffered the least losses. If they gathered their forces, they could easily take down a sacred gate at its peak. Qiao Shi was already busy, and the Qiao family was excited. They had been in prison for more than 20 years, and now they could finally come out and fight. Moreover, they could help the new Beast King in battle. The excitement they felt was indescribable. In the next few days, the Qiao family divided their tasks in an orderly manner. The Spirit Beast sect had been subdued that night, and now it was Qin Feng's territory. He had been seriously injured in the battle that night, so he stayed in the sect to recuperate. With the destruction of the Spirit Beast sect, the revenge mission related to Qiao Shi was completed. The system awarded him 100,000 hedonist points, a purple rank spiritual equipment lottery ticket, a star technology lottery ticket, and a Palace of Heroes lottery ticket. Qin Feng also completed the first and second side missions of the City War chain mission. He had successfully stirred up the war, causing both Meteor City and Distant Ice City to suffer heavy losses. He had also protected the poor people and changed their minds. The rewards for these 2 missions were also very generous. There were a total of 100,000 hedonist points and a true Qi pill. Qin Feng looked at his hedonist points in the system. He now had 1,919,000 hedonist points, which was close to the 2 million hedonist points needed to open the Immortal Island. "Master, eat the true Qi pill!" Little Pig's voice sounded. Qin Feng had been cultivating for the past 3 days, but he hadn't recovered his true Qi. Now that Little Pig reminded him, he moved his mind, and a milky white pill appeared in his palm. The pill was round and fragrant. It was as big as a goose egg, and there were 6 clear inscriptions around it. It was a 6th grade golden pill. Qin Feng skimmed through the introduction of the true Qi pill. Its main effect was to recover true Qi, which was just right for his current situation. Qin Feng swallowed the true Qi dan without the slightest hesitation. Although this dan was huge, it actually melted in his mouth. Bursts of pill fragrance lingered in his mouth, and a clear Qi flowed into his blood vessels, rippling throughout his whole body. Qin Feng felt his body heat up. He tried to circulate his true Qi again. His originally unresponsive body gradually found a trace of connection. Although there wasn't much true Qi, it circulated in his body under his control. As time passed, more and more true Qi gathered. Finally, it all condensed in his dantian. A loud explosion sounded without warning. Qin Feng felt his body lighten. It was as if a heavy burden had been released from his body. "Master, congratulations on breaking through to the 6th stage of true Qi!" Little Pig's excited voice sounded. Qin Feng was startled. He hurriedly felt his body, and his face immediately became pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect that the true Qi pill not only recovered his true Qi, but also helped him break through to the next stage. Boom! Qin Feng jumped up and struck out with his palm. The abandoned stone wall suddenly exploded into pieces, and the ground split open with a 10-meter-long crack. Many Spirit Beast sect disciples were scared and fled like rats. The sixth stage of true Qi was much stronger than the fifth stage. Qin Feng thought that if he used all kinds of spirit weapons and cultivation methods, even if he fought a seventh stage true Qi expert, he wouldn't have to be afraid. Master, Golden Fur Lion King requests to fight. Seeing that Qin Feng had broken through again, Golden Fur Lion King anxiously jumped up and down in the system. He was his master's right-hand man, and he vowed to protect his master's safety with his life. Now that Qin Feng's strength was higher than his, he felt ashamed. Master, the density of Spirit Qi in the Divine Land is close to the density of Golden Fur Lion King and the others in their era. Master can always leave them outside. This will help their cultivation. Little Pig reminded. Qin Feng was overjoyed. He immediately released Golden Fur Lion King, Shimen Chui Shui, and Ouyang Feng. Previously in the secular world of China, the three of them's magnetic field would be disturbed by the Earth's magnetic field, and their realms kept dropping. He didn't expect that in the Divine Land, they wouldn't have to worry about this problem. After the three of them came out, they began to cultivate like crazy. After Qin Feng took over the Spirit Beast sect, he discovered that there were too many pills and spirit weapons in the sect. However, the quality of those spirit weapons was too low. The highest was only a purple-grade spirit sword, which couldn't enter his eyes at all. Chapter 1380. The spirit energy in the Divine Great Land was abundant, and the spirit energy in the sacred sects was even more abundant. The locations of the sacred sects were very particular. Most of them were hidden underground spirit veins or in the mountains and rivers. Under the efforts of Teacher Qiao and the others, the sects in Meteor City and Distant Eye City were stabilized. Most of the remaining disciples of the 5 major sects were normal disciples. Even if there were a few genius disciples, their strength would not exceed the 5th stage of true Qi. Under the suppression of the Beast Race Army, they would surrender at any moment. Qin Feng did not care about the subjugation of the 2 city sections. He had already guessed that Teacher Qiao and the others would not fail. He was more worried that the sacred sects of the other 6 major cities would attack. True experts would appear among those people. After several days of hard training, Qin Feng stabilized his strength at the 6th stage of true Qi. The 3 heroes all broke through one stage. Ouyang Feng and Shimen Chui Shui stepped into the 1st stage of true Qi, and Golden Fur Lion King stepped into the 5th stage of true Qi. The speed at which the 3 heroes broke through was too fast. Qin Feng found it hard to accept. According to Little Pig, the 3 heroes had been around for a long time. They could have broken through a long time ago. It was just that Qin Feng stayed in the secular world of China, and the magnetic field there prevented them from breaking through. Now that they came to the Divine Great Land, they naturally broke through. The thing that Qin Feng was most worried about happened. On the 7th day after he subjugated Distant Eye City and Meteor City, the border areas of the 2 cities were attacked by enemies. He had already arranged for the sect disciples and the Beast Race Army to guard the entrances of the 2 cities. Fortunately, the first wave of enemies was not strong. The highest realm was only at the 5th stage of true Qi. It seemed like they were here to scout for information. There were 2 entrances to Distant Eye City and Meteor City. Now that the 2 cities were united, and there were enemies eyeing them covetously, Qin Feng mobilized a large number of troops to seal off the entrance to Meteor City, leaving only the entrance to Distant Eye City open. He personally led the troops and formed the most elite orc army. He also brought the Golden Fur Lion King with him to attack Distant Eye City's only stronghold. On the 3rd day, Qin Feng saw 2 groups of people coming towards him. There were close to 100 people on both sides, but they were wearing different uniforms. Clearly, the two sects had joined forces to attack distant Ice City. When Qin Feng fought with the Extinction sect's disciples on the surface of the sea in Acropolis City, he had a general understanding of the various sects in the Extinction sect. At this moment, he also recognized the uniforms of these two sections. The team in purple was the Sky Cloud Sword sect's disciple, and the team in black and white was the Life and Death sect's disciple. Two groups of people stopped at the foot of the mountain, led by two old men in their early 50s. It seemed that they were the great elders of the sect. One of them shouted, "I am Elder He of the Heavenly Cloud Sword sect, and beside me is Elder Yenxing of the Gate of Life and Death. We are here to attack distant Ice City with our disciples. If you are smart, surrender now, and we can spare your lives. We can even let you join our sects." The people on the mountaintop were infuriated by He's words. If Qin Feng hadn't given the order, Xiao Shi, Golden Fur Lion King, and Xiao Shi would have already killed them. Qin Feng sized up the two groups of people. Apart from the two elders, He and Yenxing, the rest were ordinary disciples. It was not hard to tell that the Sky Cloud Sword sect and the Gate of Life and Death sect were eyeing distant Ice City's territory, but they did not dare to cause a life and death struggle. They probably sent these people to scout the situation. If they saw that distant Ice City was still powerful, they would definitely give up on the idea of attacking it. After analyzing the situation, Qin Feng sneered. He and Yenxing were only at stage 6 true qi. Now that Qin Feng had recovered his true qi and broken through to stage 6, he no longer cared about opponents of this level. "Are you sure you want to attack distant Ice City? I'll give you a chance to escape, or all of you will die here." Qin Feng's voice spread from the mountaintop. His words were so domineering that it caused an uproar at the foot of the mountain. The hundreds of enemy disciples had sinister expressions. They wanted nothing more than to rush up the mountain and kill the arrogant Qin Feng. He and Yenxing's old faces darkened as well. They looked at the mountaintop angrily. He yelled, "Stinking brat, you're too arrogant. Tell me your name first. At least let me know who I'm going to kill later." Even though he was angry, he did not panic. He planned to ask Qin Feng's identity first before making a decision. The hundreds of disciples pricked up their ears. They wanted to know who this arrogant brat was. However, they heard Qin Feng say, "I'm just a nobody, an ordinary disciple of distant Ice City's holy gate. However, I'm more than enough to deal with ants like you." The more Qin Feng spoke, the more arrogant he became. He and Yenxing were indeed enraged. They suddenly gave the signal to attack. The hundreds of disciples behind them leaped onto their horses and leaped up the cliff like hundreds of swallows in the dark night. Soon, a few of them were about to reach the mountaintop. Rumble! There was a loud explosion. In the dark night, dozens of spirit birds suddenly appeared on the mountaintop. They circled around the mountaintop with bright feathers. It was as if dozens of flames were floating in the night sky. For a moment, fireballs fell like rain. The disciples who had just reached the mountaintop were immediately surrounded by flames. Some were burned to death, and even more fell off the cliff and were smashed to pieces. He was infuriated by this scene and flew up the cliff with his sword in hand. Just as he reached the top of the mountain, he swung his sword a few times in the air. Instantly, a blue sword light enveloped the sky and forced the dozen or so spirit birds to retreat far away. Rumble! Yenxing's attack also landed. He had already jumped to the mountaintop and slapped with his palms. The mountaintop shook slightly and dozens of deep pits were blasted on the plains at the mountaintop. It was as if dozens of landmines had exploded underground. The battle officially started. Before Qin Feng could make a move, Xiao Shi and the others had already led the Beastmen army to launch a fierce attack. This group of Beastmen was carefully selected by Qin Feng. The lowest rank was a rank 2 magical beast. Their strength was comparable to experts at the 3rd stage of true qi. Suddenly, flames lit up the sky and loud noises rose and fell. Qin Feng's side had the advantage of the terrain. The group of ordinary disciples couldn't even reach the mountaintop. They were all shot down halfway up the mountain. He and Yenxing became more and more furious. At this time, They no longer held back. Every move they made was a killing move. The rank 2 magical beasts of the Beastmen army were beaten back, their bodies riddled with wounds. Stinking brat, you think you can defeat me with a few beasts? I will cut you into 1,000 pieces! He Yi's roar shook the heavens. He thrust his sword towards Qin Feng. He saw that Qin Feng was young and thought that he was the weakest rookie in the enemy army. Without waiting for Qin Feng to make a move, a golden sword aura soared into the sky. The golden fur lion king's roar shook the mountains. The dragon slayer saber had already collided with He Yi's sword in midair. The loud noise was deafening. The golden fur lion king was only at the 5th stage of true qi, but it was able to resist He Yi's sword. However, he still had the upper hand. He quickly swung his sword a second time. The golden fur lion king's sword had only slashed halfway when it was pushed back to the plains at the mountaintop. Ha ha! This is the general you called for? He can't even withstand a single blow. I want to see what kind of backing you have now. In He Yi's eyes, the golden fur lion king was the strongest person in the enemy army. Now that he had been pushed back, He Yi no longer had any fear in his heart. He leaped and thrust his sword towards Qin Feng. The blue sword aura streaked across like a meteor and instantly landed on the ground. However, Qin Feng was no longer there. The sword aura exploded into a huge pit on the ground. He Yi's expression changed greatly. He felt the aura of death coming from behind him. He immediately turned around and saw that Qin Feng had unknowingly floated behind him with a red spear in his hand. When the spear was thrust out, it was as if it had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Suddenly, thousands of spear auras shot out, and he exploded in midair into a pile of flesh and blood. Bang, 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 bang. He Yi's body had already been smashed into pieces, but the loud noises in the sky were continuous. That red spear light was still flashing, it was as gorgeous as fireworks. The disciple who was climbing the mountain was suddenly stunned. He raised his head to look at the strange scene in the sky. He still couldn't figure out what was going on. You killed Daoist He? Yanxing was shocked. He stood at the peak of the mountain and saw Qin Feng's powerful spear attack with his own eyes. However, no one answered his question. Qin Feng's answer was not a sound, but a ferocious attack from the storm rainbow demon spear. Clang! That spear attack was light and casual, but it instantly condensed thousands of spear auras. Yanxing did not even have a chance to react before he exploded on the peak of the mountain. The disciples halfway up the mountain did not see how Yanxing died. They only heard the loud noises coming from the top of the mountain. Some of them even shouted innocently, "The 2 elders have used their ultimate moves. Everyone, hurry up! How can those ants be a match for the 2 elders? Distant Eye's city is already an empty city. Our Sky Cloud sword will become even stronger in the future." The group of disciples became excited in their own fantasies and increased their speed of climbing. Soon, a large group of disciples reached the top of the mountain. However, they were stunned on the spot. The scene of the 2 elders killing the enemy bravely did not appear in their minds. They scanned the top of the mountain but did not see the 2 elders. The enemy seemed to be unharmed, and a group of ferocious beasts were staring at them as if they wanted to swallow them alive. You should surrender now. Once Daoist He and Elder Yen attack, it will be too late even if you want to surrender. Everyone realized that the situation was not right, but they still pretended to be calm. Qin Feng sneered and waved his hand. Immediately, a golden saber aura that was hundreds of meters long condensed in front of him. The golden phoenix landed on the ground and split the entire mountain in half. The disciples standing at the edge of the cliff all fell down and were smashed to pieces. "Oh no, 2 elders have been killed! Everyone, run for your lives!" There were still a dozen disciples with the weakest strength who had only climbed halfway up the mountain. Their good-for-nothing had actually saved their lives. These people did not dare to climb up anymore. When they saw their senior brothers fall from the peak, they were so scared that they immediately fled. Chapter 1381. There were many sacred sects in the divine continent. There were at least 80, if not hundreds. However, there were only 8 cities here, which caused all the sacred sects to fight openly and covertly. Now that Distant Ice City and Meteor City had fought, and it was rumored that both sides suffered heavy losses, it immediately attracted the attention of all the sacred sects. Many sects had sent their disciples to Distant Ice City to scout out the situation. However, after the battle last night, most of the sect leaders ordered their disciples to retreat. That battle was not intense, and it was only led by 2 elders at the 6th stage of true Qi. However, the disciples who escaped talked about it as if it was a miracle. Thousands of magical beasts and spirit beasts gathered, and it was said that the enemy had a divine general who descended from the heavens and killed 2 elders with a single spear strike. He and Yan Xing's strength was nothing in the divine continent, but they were still experts at the 6th stage of true Qi. In the vast divine continent, how many people could beat their chest and boast that they could kill someone at the 6th stage of true Qi with a single spear strike? Perhaps only the sect masters of the few sacred sects and a few grand elders would be able to do so. However, the man who killed He and Yanxing was only an ordinary disciple of the Distant Ice City sacred sect. How powerful was Distant Ice City now? Son-in-law, after the battle that night, Distant Ice City and Meteor City have established their might. I believe that no other sacred sects will dare to attack us. 3 days had passed since the battle that night. According to the Qiao clan, Distant Ice City and Meteor City had been defended. However, Qin Feng did not give the order to retreat. These 3 days he led the team to guard the entrance of Distant Ice City. From beginning to end, Qin Feng was somewhat worried. This was the divine continent, where sects stood in great numbers and experts were as common as clouds. How could the death of merely 2 elders at the 6th stage of true Qi truly deter those sacred sects that were spying on the city? Father-in-law, I have a bad feeling in my heart. We should guard here for a few more days. If there is still no movement in a week, then we will make a decision. Qin Feng was now the city lord of 2 cities, and he controlled the remaining forces of the 6 sacred sects. He was also the benefactor of Qiao Shi and the others, and the new Beast King. Everyone listened to his orders. Everyone continued to stand guard at the entrance, constantly vigilant against the enemy's surprise attack. Qin Feng was not idle either. He spent every moment cultivating. Even though he had stepped into the 6th stage of true Qi, he was still too weak when compared to the entire divine continent. Master, you've completed Qiao Shi's mission not too long ago, and the system has rewarded you with a lot of lottery tickets. You can give it a try. Little Pig's voice rang out. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. Recently, he had been busy with city battles and defending the city. He had completely forgotten about the reward rolls. Qin Feng sent his consciousness into the system. The rewards for the Qiao Shi's revenge quest were very generous. Apart from 100,000 hedonist points, there was also a purple grade spirit equipment scroll, a star technology scroll, and a Palace of Heroes scroll. Ding! Congratulations, host Qin Feng! You have used the Violet Grade Spiritual Equipment Lottery Scroll to obtain the Violet Sunset Sword. As soon as Qin Feng thought about it, the system's notification sounded. He now had a Scarlet Demon Red Equipment, for Great Sage Gold Equipment, and even more pink equipment. As for the Purple Grade Spirit Equipment, Qin Feng no longer cared about them. However, the Violet Cloud Sword's design was outstanding. It was a slender, sharp sword with a few purple clouds carved on its blade. It was somewhat similar to the Waning Moon sword that Ren Xiaoyao used. It seemed to be a sword used by women. Qin Feng casually grabbed the air and stabbed it. Instantly, several purple sword rays whizzed out and enveloped Qin Feng's body in a purple mist, making it difficult to tell if he was real or fake. This sword is not bad. I'll see which woman likes it and give it to them. Qin Feng put away the Violet Cloud Sword and prepared to leave it for Lin Bei Bei and the others. Now that the girls had begun to step onto the path of cultivation with Qin Feng's help, Qin Feng planned to give each of them a satisfactory weapon after they left this place of despair. After using the Violet Cloud Sword, Qin Feng couldn't wait to use the star technology battle armor. The reason he was able to survive in China and even seize 2 cities was all because of the power of the star technology battle armor. After the violet cloud sword disappeared, the system's notification sounded in Qin Feng's mind. Ding! Congratulations, host Qin Feng, you have obtained a black dragon chariot with the star technology battle armor. Qin Feng was stunned, and his heart surged with excitement. The Black Dragon was a series of technological products in the Star Technology Battle Armor series. It was like the Lunar God series of spiritual equipment. There were Lunar God armor, Lunar Sorrows, Lunar God belt, Lunar God boots, and so on. Qin Feng already had the Black Dragon tank, and he knew the power of the Black Dragon series of Star Technology Battle Armor series. He believed that this Black Dragon chariot would not disappoint him. Rumble! Qin Feng's mind moved slightly, and a mighty and cool mecha landed beside him. This chariot looked like a Jeep off-road vehicle in modern society, but it was twice as big as a Jeep. The body of the chariot was more than 6 meters long and 3 meters tall. It was simply a giant chariot. Qin Feng was so excited that he almost shouted. He wanted to drive the 2 black dragon chariots immediately, but Xiao Shi and the others were still waiting outside. If he made such a huge chariot out of nowhere, it would definitely scare everyone. In the end, he suppressed his excitement and used the 3rd Violet Cloud Sword. This was a Palace of Heroes lottery scroll. The system's notification sounded in Qin Feng's mind. Ding! Congratulations, host Qin Feng, you have obtained Hero Duan Yu by using the Palace of Heroes lottery scroll. Qin Feng didn't know when he had arrived in the system's Palace of Heroes. There were millions of heroes in the Palace of Heroes, and each hero was a shining star. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion in the vast and silent night sky before him. A dazzling star flew over and landed next to Qin Feng in the blink of an eye. Duan Yu greets Master! Qin Feng looked at the man in front of him in shock. He was dressed in a green robe and had long hair. He had delicate features and was even fairer than Chimin Chui Shui. He was also slightly more handsome than Qin Feng. Qin Feng had seen this man in the demigods and semi-devils. He never thought he would meet him in real life one day and become his subordinate, but Qin Feng quickly regained his senses. He had asked Little Pig about the Palace of Heroes before. The heroes in the Palace of Heroes were all technological products. They were replicas of their corresponding characters at their maximum level. Duan Yu, please rise! Qin Feng said. Duan Yu stood up. His every movement was cultured and refined. No one would have guessed that he was a Stage 6 True Qi stage expert. Qin Feng had used the character conversion card to draw Xiao Feng and had half an hour of Xiao Feng's peak condition. Xiao Feng was also at Stage 6 True Qi stage, and his 18 subduing dragon palms had allowed Qin Feng to slaughter. Duan Yu wasn't weak either. The 6-pulse Godly Sword's ultimate technique wasn't something an ordinary person could withstand. He had used all 3 rolls, and Qin Feng had 2 more cards up his sleeve. As soon as his consciousness returned to reality, he heard Golden Fur Lion King's angry roar. This is bad, Master. The enemy is attacking again. Qin Feng's expression turned cold. He stood up and looked down at the foot of the mountain. Xiao Gong and the others' realms were too low. If it weren't for Golden Fur Lion King's warning, they wouldn't have noticed anything unusual at the foot of the mountain. But soon, cries of alarm and shouts came from the crowd. A large group of black figures appeared at the foot of the mountain. A few people even started to climb up the mountain. There were only about 50 people in this group, which was a lot less than the combined forces of Sky Cloud Sword and the Gate of Life and Death 3 days ago. But Qin Feng and Golden Fur Lion King's expressions turned grave. There were many experts in this group, and there were even 5 powerful beings that Qin Feng couldn't see through. Who are you? How dare you intrude into the sacred land of Distant Eye City at night? If you don't leave now, don't blame us for being impolite. Golden Fur Lion King had already started to roar. His roar shook the mountain and caused countless gravel to fall, hindering the speed of the disciples who were climbing up the mountain. The dozen or so disciples suddenly stopped halfway up the mountain and didn't move. The crowd at the foot of the mountain also stopped. They saw two black figures suddenly shoot up the mountain. Before the crowd could react, two bald old monks in gray robes were already standing at the edge of the cliff. "You're from Immeasurable Mountain?" Qin Feng recognized the two people's clothes at a glance. One of the elders put his palms together and looked at Qin Feng and the beast army behind him with disdain. He said, "I'm Great Master Yuanda of Immeasurable Mountain, and this is Junior Brother Yuan Kong tonight. Abbot Yuan Kong of Immeasurable Mountain has personally led the troops here. He's determined to take down Distant Ice City and Meteor City. If you don't want to die, you'd better surrender obediently." As soon as the old monk finished speaking, the beast army was in an uproar. Golden Fur Lion King was even more furious. He looked like he was going to raise his saber at any time. However, Qin Feng didn't give the order. He was staring at Yuan De and Yuan Kong. These two were the two people whose strength he couldn't see through. Presumably, the remaining three experts that he couldn't see through were Abbot Yuan Kong of Immeasurable Mountain. Qin Feng felt an unprecedented pressure in his heart. He had guessed correctly. There would be more sacred sects coming to spy on Distant Ice City. However, he didn't expect that Abbot Yuan Kong of Immeasurable Mountain would personally lead the troops here. It seemed like he wanted to fight to the death. At the same time, Qin Feng was also confused about one thing. The disciples of Immeasurable Mountain were all monks. They were similar to Shaolin, one of the 5 sects of Huaxia. The disciples of Shaolin and Immeasurable Mountain all had the surname, Yuan, but their names were different. He couldn't figure out the relationship between Shaolin and Immeasurable Mountain. If these two sects were originally one sect, then they gradually divided into 2 sects over the long course of history. Didn't that mean that Shaolin used to be in China? How did they go to the outside world in the end? What was the relationship between the secular world of Huaxia and China? Too many questions popped up in Qin Feng's mind. However, he couldn't figure them out in a short time. Moreover, the situation was critical now, so he didn't have time to think about it. Seeing that Qin Feng didn't speak, the 2 old monks became a little impatient. Yuan De shouted coldly, "Boy, don't pretend to be deaf and dumb. Call your leader out. You people don't deserve to talk to me." Yuan De had been polite just now, but now his foxtail was exposed. Chapter 1382. Without waiting for Qin Feng to speak, Golden Fur Lion King was instantly enraged. He held the Dragon Slayer saber horizontally in front of him, stared coldly at Yuan De and roared, "Old bald donkey, how dare you speak to my master like this? Do you believe that I won't chop you in half?" Yuan De was a great master of Wuliang Mountain. His status was only below Abbot Yuan Kong. Furthermore, he was a venerable who had stepped into the 7th level of Qi. When had he ever been threatened like this? His skinny palm was about to strike out when his gaze inadvertently fell on Golden Fur Lion King's Dragon Slayer saber. He was so shocked that he almost fell from the top of the mountain. This is a great sage gold grade saber." Yuan Song was also about to strike, but he was startled by Senior Yuan De's shout. He immediately looked at the Dragon Slayer saber in Golden Fur Lion King's hand and his eyeballs almost fell to the ground. "Senior Yuan De, that's right. It really is a gold-grade saber." These two were great masters of Wuliang Mountain. They were venerables at the 7th level of Qi. With their sharp eyes, they could tell the truth with one look. "Brat, a mere 5th level of Qi actually has a gold-grade saber. It's a waste for this spirit saber to fall into your hands. It's better to let this poor monk keep it for you." Yuan De's old eyes flickered. He suddenly struck out with his palm. Heaven and earth seemed to have changed. Golden Fur Lion King didn't even have a chance to dodge, and was directly sent flying 100 meters away. The Dragon Slayer saber flew into the air. Yuan De quickly leaped to grab it. Just as he was about to grab the saber hilt, he felt a gust of wind coming from the soles of his feet. He had no choice but to slow down and counterattack. As he struck out with his palm, he angrily shouted, "Junior Yuan Song, are you crazy? Rumble! two violent air currents exploded high in the sky. The entire mountain top was shaking. It turned out that the attack was launched by Yuan Kong, in front of the great sage gold-grade saber, who cared about brotherhood. Senior Yuan De, how could I be crazy? Aren't we competing fairly? We found this gold-grade saber together. You can't just let me give it to you for no reason, right? Yuan De's palm landed on the plains in the distance. He stared coldly at Yuan Song, but he couldn't refute for a long time. Both of them had their own thoughts when they suddenly heard Yuan Song exclaim, "Eh? Where's the golden saber? Oh no, it's been snatched away by that brat." Yuan Song angrily swatted at Qin Feng. Yuan De also came back to his senses. He gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to break. These two people were both at the 7th layer of true Qi. With a light tap of their feet, they immediately turned into sharp arrows and arrived above Qin Feng's head in the span of a few breaths. "Stinking brat, you even dare to snatch the treasure that I've taken a fancy to? You're simply courting death." Both of them were proficient in palm techniques. As they raised their palms, dozens of deep pits were blasted into the mountain peak. But Qin Feng had already disappeared from the mountaintop. Two balls of flames appeared in the distant sky. The flames flickered incessantly, like will-o'-the-wisps in the dark night. But when Yuan De and the other man saw them, they were shocked. "Good heavens, there's even a great sage gold equipment here! It's a flying-type spirit tool. Senior brother Yuan De, we'll stick to the old rules. It belongs to whoever gets it first." When Qin Feng stepped on the golden whirlwind wheel and flew, ordinary experts in the true Qi realm would not be able to track his trajectory. But unexpectedly, Yuan De and the other man quickly caught up with him. Their speed was actually not much slower than the golden whirlwind wheel. Qin Feng was a little nervous. This time, the forces attacking the city were much stronger than he had expected. He had just stepped into the 6th layer of true Qi, so he was not afraid of Yuan De and Yuan Kong. But there was still Abbot Yuan Kong at the foot of the mountain. That old man's realm was definitely much higher than these two. Rumble! Loud noises continuously rang out in the valley. The places that Qin Feng flew past were blown into a mess. He flew all the way and brought Yuan De and the other man to a plain thousands of meters away. He was prepared to kill them here alone. "Stinking brat, you can't run away. I advise you to obediently hand over the golden spirit tool on your body, and I promise to spare your life." Yuan De was a little impatient and tried to bluff Qin Feng with a lie. However, Qin Feng stopped and said, "Are you serious? As long as I hand over the spirit tool, you won't kill me?" Yuan De and Yuan Song were stunned. They were just saying it casually. In the divine land, who would believe such a lie? They didn't expect that the brat in front of them was such an idiot that he would really believe it. Yuan De quickly put away his fierce expression and squeezed out a kind smile. He said, "Don't worry, I just want the golden spirit tool in your hand. As for you and I, there is no enmity between us. Why must I kill you?" Qin Feng pretended to be stupid. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "What you said is very reasonable. Then I will believe you this time. I will give you this golden saber, and you should quickly leave." When Qin Feng's voice fell, Yuan De and Yuan Song were still in a daze. They felt like they were dreaming. That was a golden saber, and that brat was really willing to give it to them. But in the next moment, the two flew into the air at the same time. Qin Feng really threw the Dragon Slayer saber over. "Junior brother Yuan Song, don't fight with me for this golden saber. I will give you the flying spiritual tool," Yuan De shouted anxiously. However, Yuan Song didn't slow down at all. He said, "Senior brother Yuan De, how about I give you the flying spiritual tool, and the saber belongs to me?" Both of them were wily old foxes. Neither of them trusted the other. When they saw that their hands were about to grab the Dragon Slayer saber, they suddenly slapped each other's chests. The two palms finally collided in the void. The loud sound seemed to destroy heaven and earth. The whole plain and valley shook a few times. The two people's strength was equal, and they both fell to the ground. Clang! No one could grab the Dragon Slayer saber. In the end, The entire saber was inserted into the ground, leaving a half-meter-long handle outside. Qin Feng walked to the side of the saber unhurriedly, and casually grabbed it. The golden saber light was dazzling in the night. Yuan De and Yuan Song gnashed their teeth in anger. "Brat, how dare you trick us!" Yuan De finally came to his senses. Yuan Song also realized that he had been tricked by Qin Feng. The veins on his face bulged. Qin Feng acted as if he didn't see the two's angry expressions. He said calmly, "I was kind enough to give you the saber, but you guys fought each other. You can't blame me for this." Both of them had used all their strength in that palm strike. At this moment, they both suffered internal injuries, but they forced themselves to stand up. A gust of wind suddenly rose. Yuan Song had appeared behind Qin Feng. He slapped his palm down and laughed complacently. "Ha ha! You want to trick me? In the face of absolute strength, your little tricks." Boom! Before Yuan Song could finish his words, a golden saber light that was hundreds of meters long had already descended. Qin Feng had long been on guard against the two. How could he let Yuan Song's sneak attack succeed? This saber strike was swift and violent. Rather than saying that Yuan Song's sneak attack was a sneak attack, it would be better to say that Qin Feng's saber strike when he turned around was more like a sneak attack. The ground had already exploded, and in the middle of the crack was Yuan Song's body. He was stunned and motionless, as if he had fallen asleep. However, after a few breaths, a bloody wound split open between his eyebrows. In the blink of an eye, the bloody wound split open and his whole body exploded into pieces. Boom! The loud explosion had not stopped, and a strong smell of blood wafted in the air. Yuan De was only a second later than Yuan Song's attack, but he didn't expect that this 1 second would save his life. At this moment, he was stunned in place, staring incredulously at Qin Feng, who was carrying the Dragon Slayer saber on his shoulder. From the beginning, Qin Feng was an ant-like existence that Yuan De and Yuan Song ignored. It was precisely because of this that they dared to unscrupulously snatch Qin Feng's gold equipment. But they never expected that such a young boy could actually kill Yuan Song, who was at the 7th stage of true Qi. You dare to kill my junior brother? I will make you die a horrible death." Yuan De had already returned to his senses. Qin Feng sneered and said, "Oh, you should be very happy now. I killed your junior brother, now no one will fight with you for the spiritual equipment. This golden saber and golden will are both yours." Qin Feng's words made Yuan De suddenly stunned. He did think so, but he didn't expect Qin Feng to see through his thoughts. Yuan De's expression became vigilant. He ignored Qin Feng at the beginning, then looked down on him, and now took him very seriously. "Don't think that you are very powerful just because you killed Yuan Kong. That was caused by my junior brother underestimating you. Now I will let you know how powerful I am." Yuan De no longer talked nonsense, and had already clapped his hands. Even if he was a little vigilant against Qin Feng, he still didn't put him in his eyes. Qin Feng looked to be in his early 20s. No matter how powerful this boy was, what kind of storm could he set off? Yuan De was confident that he could kill him with one palm. Rumble! Before the palm arrived, a series of loud explosions had already sounded in the air. Hundreds of palm prints appeared on top of Qin Feng's head. Yuan De and Ling Jinfeng, the head of Spirit Beast sect, both practiced palm techniques, but their attacks were somewhat different. Ling Jinfeng's palm strike was a powerful attack, condensing into a huge palm print that made it impossible for others to escape. Yuan De, who was in front of him, dispersed his true qi, forming tiny palm prints that overlapped each other like an inescapable net. The strength of each palm was not very strong. If it hit Qin Feng alone, it would not be enough to tickle him. However, when hundreds of palm prints overlapped, it could instantly collapse a small mountain. The palm prints approached, but Qin Feng did not move. Yuan De's old face smiled like a wild chrysanthemum, as if he could already see Qin Feng's miserable state of being smashed to pieces by this palm. "Yuan De, be careful!" An angry roar suddenly sounded, but it came from thousands of meters away. Yuanda and Qin Feng's expressions changed. Yuanda was surprised. Wasn't that Abbot Yuan Kong's voice? Why did he tell him to be careful? However, Qin Feng did not dare to hold back. He waved his hand and pierced the void with his long spear. The rainbow demon storm spear pierced through the void as if there was no one there. In an instant, it turned into thousands of rainbow lights that shot out like thousands of sharp arrows. Stab, 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 stab. Muffled sounds rang out in the air. The palm print that Yuanda had sent out was easily pierced through like a piece of tofu. However, the spear light did not weaken at all and instantly pierced through Yuanda. Yuanda's body was suspended in the air as if he had been frozen. Blood began to ooze out of his body, and a moment later, his whole body was pierced like a hornet's nest. Yuanda had already fallen to the ground. He could not be more dead. Chapter 1383. After killing Yuanda, Qin Feng didn't stop at all. He carried the rainbow demon storm spear and ran. He could already feel several powerful auras chasing after him, and one of them was much more powerful than Yuanda and Yuan Kong. Qin Feng did not think that he could defeat the abbot and the other masters of Wuliang Mountain. He had used some tricks and luck to kill Yuanda and Yuan Kong. After all, Qin Feng had just stepped into Stage 6 True Qi realm. He was confident that he was invincible in the Stage 6 True Qi realm, but it would take a lot of effort to kill a Stage 7 True Qi realm expert. As for Stage 8 True Qi realm, Qin Feng could only use the Star Technology battle armor to fight. However, the current Wuliang Mountain strength was different from the Spirit Beast Sect's 6 major forces. In the city war 10 days ago, the 2 sacred sects had already suffered heavy losses. Under such circumstances, Qin Feng had used the Black Dragon tank to slaughter everyone. Now that the Wuliang Mountain's disciples were in peak condition, it was easier said than done to exterminate these people. Brat, let's see where you can run to! Just as Qin Feng was thinking of countermeasures, an angry roar came. The voice was clearly a few hundred meters away, but in the next moment, Qin Feng was hit from behind and flew to an empty space 100 meters away. Pfft! As soon as he landed, Qin Feng vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. The moon god armor on his body flowed with a cold moonlight. If he hadn't activated the moon god armor's super defensive ability in that critical moment, Qin Feng didn't know if he would still be alive now. However, at this moment, Little Pig's urgent voice sounded in his mind. Master, the moon god's armor has already cracked. It needs to be put into the 10,000 treasure pavilion to recover immediately. Otherwise, it will completely shatter if it receives another attack. Qin Feng was shocked. He wondered how powerful that palm was to almost shatter the moon god armor. He looked up into the sky and saw 3 black figures land beside him. The 3 of them stood in a triangular formation. The white-bearded old man standing at the front was obviously the representative of the 3. Brat, who are you to be able to kill our Wuliang Mountain's master at such a young age? The white-bearded old man's expression was cold. When he spoke, he clenched his fists, as if he was trying his best to control his anger. Qin Feng didn't need to think too much to guess that this person was Immeasurable Mountain's Abbot Yuan Kong. Earlier, Qin Feng had not been able to see through this old man's cultivation. Now that he was standing before Qin Feng, the sense of mystery and pressure he gave off became even stronger. Abbot Yuan Kong, why are you still talking nonsense with this brat? Since he dared to kill junior brother Yuanda and Yuan Tsong, let me personally kill him. One of the gray-robed elders couldn't hold back any longer. He raised his palm and slammed it down, but at this moment, the roars of wild beasts rang out from behind the 3 of them. Their expressions changed, and they all turned to look. Over 100 ferocious beasts were madly charging towards them, kicking up a cloud of dust wherever they went. Even the ground beneath their feet was trembling violently. They seemed unstoppable. Rumble! Yuan Shan's palm had already landed, smashing an even deeper mark into the deep pit. However, when the 3 of them turned around to take a look, they discovered that Qin Feng had already escaped. I can't believe we let that brat get away. Yuan Shan glared angrily. The elder standing on the other side was also a Grand Master of Wuliang Mountain. His name was Yuan Zhong. He, Yuan Shan, and the dead Yuan De and Yuan Tsong made up a total of 4 people. They were the 4 great protectors of Wuliang Mountain. Yuan Zhong also had a cold expression on his face. He was displeased that Qin Feng had escaped. However, Abbot Yuan Kong had already regained his calm expression. He looked at the army of over 100 beasts and said indifferently, "There's no need to care about that brat who escaped. Tonight, let us start a massacre. Not a single one will be spared." Ba. Abbot Yuan Kong's voice was still reverberating in the air, but he had already charged into the army of beasts. Yuan Shan and Yuan Zhong were stunned. When they heard the abbot say Ba while slaughtering beasts, they both felt very awkward. The battle had already begun. Yuan Kong stepped into the ferocious army of beasts, but it was as if he had stepped into an uninhabited land. With a single palm strike, he sent several rank 2 magical beasts flying into the sky. Even rank 3 spiritual beasts were unable to stop him. The indestructible army of beasts had already been scattered, and the Qiao family was completely defenseless. Yuan Kong's cultivation realm shocked the crowd. This was the first time they had seen such a powerful existence. Humph! You're just a bunch of beasts, and you dare to behave so atrociously. Today I'll kill you all and then send you off to the afterlife. The more Yuan Kong killed, the more ferocious he became. His eyes were bloodshot, and he no longer looked like an abbot. When he attacked, he was even more ferocious than a heinous villain. The dozen or so spiritual birds circling in the sky suddenly swooped down, spitting out a rain of fire in midair. However, Yuan Kong did not even look at them. He first smashed 3 wild boars in front of him into pieces before leaping into the air, heading towards the center of the flames. Rumble! The flames howled, enveloping Yuan Kong's body. However, there seemed to be an invisible layer of innate qi barrier around his body. The flames couldn't even get close to his body, and his palm had already descended from the sky. Immediately, flesh and blood splattered, and more than 10 spirit birds exploded into pieces. When the Qiao family saw this cruel scene, they all pounced at Yuan Kong as if they had gone mad. However, they were too weak, and they were sent flying by the true qi that exploded from Yuan Kong's body when they were only 50 meters away from him. The army of beasts also went berserk. The group of magical beasts attacked Yuan Kong as if they did not care about their lives. Fireballs and ice filled the sky, and there were even a few bolts of lightning flashing in midair. Such a powerful and ferocious attack shocked even Qin Feng. However, Yuan Kong did not retreat at all. He continued to strike with his palms, and the densely packed palm prints crashed into the bodies of the beasts. Beasts' angry and pained cries rang out everywhere. "Old bald donkey, take this!" A furious roar shook the sky. The golden fur lion king grabbed the air, and the dragon saber was sent to his hand through the system. As soon as the saber was in his hand, he swung it through the air. Instantly, the air exploded, and a 100-meter-long crack appeared on the ground. However, Yuan Kong had already disappeared. When he reappeared, he had sent the golden fur lion king flying 100 meters away with a palm strike. Bang, bang, bang! The intense battle continued. Qin Feng stood on his golden wheel and flew in the sky. He was observing Yuan Kong's strength, but the more he looked, the more he could not see through this person's strength. The golden fur lion king was an expert at the 5th stage of true qi. With the help of the dragon saber, he would not be afraid even if he were to face an expert at the 6th stage of true qi. However, he was defeated by Yuan Kong with a single palm strike. Qin Feng began to measure his own strength. He was afraid that he was not much better than the Lion King. "Stinking brat, let's see if you can still escape this time." However, Qin Feng was distracted for a moment, and his position was locked on by Yuan Shan. A strong wind blew, and a black shadow attacked from within the wind. Its speed was so fast that it left people speechless. By the time Qin Feng reacted, Yuan Shan's palm strike was already close. The palm strike hit Qin Feng's chest, and he was sent flying 100 meters away. The ground sank into a huge pit. Qin Feng had been seriously injured by Yuan Kong's palm strike, and now he was vomiting blood non-stop. Master, Duan Yu is requesting to leave the battle. Duan Yu's anxious and angry voice sounded in Qin Feng's mind. Qin Feng was also confused by Yuan Kong and the others, and he actually forgot about Duan Yu, who he had just drawn. Seeing a black shadow appear in the air, Yuan Shan had already arrived above the huge pit. He slammed his palm down again, and in an instant, hundreds of palm prints condensed in front of him, whistling through the air. Ha ha! Stinking brat, this is the result of going against Wuliang Mountain. Yuan Shan laughed loudly, but suddenly, the smile on his face froze. His eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. In the deep pit, a man in a green robe appeared out of nowhere. The man was tall and straight, and his skin was fair and clean. He was incomparably handsome. He put his index and middle fingers together and pointed in the air a few times, and several sword rays shot into the sky. The sword aura surged and instantly broke through Yuan Shan's palm prints. The sword rays flashed, and their speed was so fast that it was dazzling. Yuan Shan barely managed to dodge a few sword rays before his body was hit by dozens of sword aura, and he fell to the ground. Senior brother Yuan Shan, are you all right? Yuan Zhong noticed the situation and quickly rushed over. When he helped Yuan Shan, who was covered in sword wounds, he was extremely shocked. Qin Feng was only in his early 20s, so how could he injure senior brother Yuan Shan, who was at the 7th stage of true qi? But before Yuan Shan could explain, Duan Yu had already jumped out of the huge pit with Qin Feng in his arms. Qin Feng sat cross-legged on the side and began to heal. Although Duan Yu was thin and tall, he stood in front of Qin Feng like a towering mountain. Stinking brat, where did you come from? Tonight, my Wuliang Mountain's abbot Yuan Kong will personally lead the troops to attack distant Ice City. I advise you to surrender obediently. Yuan Zhong was startled by Duan Yu, who suddenly jumped out. He guessed that senior brother Yuan Shan was most likely injured by Duan Yu, and he was somewhat fearful. How dare you injure my master? Tonight, all of you will die. Duan Yu didn't waste any more words. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved both his hands. This move was very strange, and Yuan Zhong was stunned for a while, not knowing what Duan Yu was doing. Be careful of that guy's sword qi, he's an expert in the way of the sword. Yuan Shan shouted and pulled Yuan Zhong along as he ran. The ground behind the two of them continuously exploded. Duan Yu stood in place without moving. His hands were like the wind, his fingers were like long swords, and the moment his fingers touched, the sword qi would fall. Yuan Zhong finally experienced Duan Yu's strength. Although this guy had only stepped into the 6th stage of true qi, his sword techniques were superb. Even the experts in the way of the sword from the #1 great sword sect in the Divine Continent were probably not as good as him. Loud noises rang out from all directions, and the two experts of the 7th stage of true qi were beaten to the ground. Yuan Kong swept a glance over and immediately roared in anger. You two pieces of trash, you can't even kill that brat. Yuan Shan and Yuan Zhong were full of grievances, but they didn't dare to vent it out. Yuan Zhong hurriedly shouted, Abbot Yuan Kong, there's another expert here, and his sword techniques are superb. Yuan Kong was stunned. He thought to himself, Qin Fin isn't the only one over there. Since when did a sword Dao expert appear? He had no choice but to stop slaughtering the beast tribe army. He leaped into the air and covered the distance of several thousand meters in the blink of an eye. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.